Welcome back to Appalachian Dim Sum.
It's the podcast where our entertainment is our comfort food, and at this point, I think it's maybe going to be our heartburn.
That right. This is a month 6 coffee service.
Yes, coffee service following our dessert. And if you did watch the dessert, we had mochi graboids.
Mochi graboids, chocolate mochi graboids.
It was best way to describe it was just like fudge.
Really sweet
rich.
Fudge.
And the countdown to me going, oh, it's going to be probably up and coming.
Well, this is episode 18, coffee service, where we're going to be talking about creature effects. This is kind of going off of the whole Tremors thing.
Yes.
Because Tremors has some really, at least the first one, has some really fantastic creature effects.
That's a good follow-up to the dessert.
Absolutely.
You actually made some special effects
little
yourself.
Creature effects. And I also think Tremors is a good case study for practical versus digital, because throughout their series, because we kind of equated it. We were talking about last episode how Jurassic Park has had a similar span, a time frame, and number of movies.
Yeah, almost identical, isn't it?
Yeah. If you line the timelines up, but Jurassic Park has always been really heavy on the digital effects.
Yeah.
And Tremors, there's very little digital effects in the first one, that one green screen that we talked about. Yeah. But very quickly as it went on, it went almost completely digital. Yeah. So you definitely can see with Tremors the difference between practical versus digital effects, and both of us agree.
I don't know.
Practical effects.
haven't done a review of that time frame to see what we're missing. I want to say, that Tremors is the last great practical effect movie, because that seems like everything that I'm thinking of was kind of before that.
Yeah.
There's been some good since then, but that kind of was the whatever you want to call it, the sort of
the last bastion of practical effects. I agree.
The dying light of it.
Yeah, because right after that,
Jurassic Park came out.
Jurassic Park, and that was digital effects, and then all the studios went, "Ooh, that's awesome! Let's do it digitally."
And we mentioned, even how close those movies were together. That Pogo Stick Girl and Tremors, Mindy, was the same shaking Jello girl in Jurassic Park. Yeah. So it was just a couple years apart on those. So, interesting tie between those two movies.
Really is. And there's a couple of things I'm going to mention that tie into Tremors as well, which I was interested to find out.
One of my things that I want to talk about for our effects had a random tie-in that I had no idea until I was just doing some messing around on the computer the days leading up to this. So it's, what do they always call the thing with Kevin Bacon? The
6 degrees of separation.
Separation, or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or something.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that with the special effects industry, and probably just Hollywood in general. This is an aside, but before Lynch made his Dune in 1984, whenever it was, Jodorowsky was working on his own Dune.
Oh yeah.
And I watched a documentary about it, and pretty much what happened is he got this dream team of creatives together, and when his Dune didn't happen, those people who met each other because of it went on to make other movies like Alien.
Yeah.
So it's definitely none of this is created in a vacuum.
Yeah. It always struck me when we got into watching The Walking Dead, and you had some of the creators that would come on at the thing that came on after. Was it called Talking Dead?
Mm-hmm.
They had a little talk show with, a lot of times they'd have actors and stuff on it, but a lot of the writers and special effects people would come on as well. And I got to hear all these names like Gillian Hurd, and I can't remember all the names, but then you see that and something like that, and I would go back and watch Aliens or a Predator movie or even an old Star Wars movie, and you're watching the credits roll, and it's like, well, hey, they did the effects in that.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't realize that these people are the industry. They've been in it since the early sci-fi stuff, and pretty much anybody that does anything in big studios is either directly tied to them or at some point worked with them.
I'm sure there was a lot of I need this done. Hey, I know a guy. Yeah. A lot of that.
Yeah. can't get her or him for this, but this guy's worked with her. He knows what she does.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Here, we'll send you him.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about our favorite practical effects.
Yeah.
This isn't like a best of list.
Not at all.
Best of list. I think we mentioned that sort of at the end of the last one. Best of list would be us just still talking about Aliens and Predator and movies we've already covered. Ones that had such big budgets that they're not comparable to what we're going to talk about today. Tremors was in that kind of second tier of thing. Where they had a $6 million budget,
something like that. Yeah.
There's some movies that probably spend $6 million in a day on some of their big productions and stuff. And Tremors was definitely us working with limited effects, and so we're kind of focusing on ones like that. And the image of all the graboid stuff and the tentacles that came out and all the different things they puppeted and did miniatures of in Tremors. One of my favorite things they always did was every time they blew up a graboid, this is that little pile of orange slop that would just come flying in, and there were just people standing on like the back of a truck with like a shovel full of that were just throwing
whatever it was.
Slop. Yeah. And unfortunately, it always reminded me of the contents of a Taco Bell burrito. But
I always thought of pumpkin.
It might have been a mix of the two for the budget back then. You could get Taco Bell for like 75 cents. Right. That might have been the way. That might have been it.
It's good, but Taco Bell burritos.
Yep.
Or just buy the jug. It comes in
the giant tube,
yeah.
Like a 6-foot toothpaste tube full of taco filling. I hope that exists. Probably doesn't.
Probably not. It's a bucket. All right. Well, our first one you brought was Bad Moon.
I brought Bad Moon.
Okay.
And it's hard for me to not just fill this list with just werewolf movies. Because kind of my second love. I love Godzilla stuff. That's always I kind of put that above everything else. I've always been into werewolf stories. I love comics. Go ahead.
No, you saying that made me think of a stupid fan film where it starts off and there's Godzilla and there's a werewolf and the werewolf bites Godzilla and Godzilla turns into a big werewolf. That image of like a tiny little werewolf biting Godzilla on the foot and then like getting stomped just made me laugh.
You've seen one of my favorite things. Probably was my first kind of sixth sense of humor moments when I was much younger. You've seen the little Bambi versus Godzilla at the beginning of Godzilla 1984, where it's got it's just a little black and white hand-drawn animation playing Muslim Morning Mood, little classic peaceful song. Bambi's just sitting there eating, and then just a giant foot just comes out and smashes it, and it plays music dong, dong, dong. And that's the whole thing, and I love that. I laughed so hard the first time I saw that. But
anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I've collected a lot of werewolf comics. Most of them are 6 out of 8 because they usually get canceled before they even finish their little limited runs, unfortunately. But always loved the stories, always been in a search for that perfect werewolf story, and they don't exist. American Werewolf in London probably is the high water mark for werewolf movies. Bad Moon, hang on one second.
See, I've never seen Bad Moon. I've seen Werewolf in London, and that especially for the time, those creature effects are pretty good.
Oh yeah. And if you compare American Werewolf in London to this is them kind of going a step beyond what American Werewolf London did with not even a fraction of the budget.
I like we have an image up of one of the werewolves, and I really like the
difference between those two movies is that the Werewolf in London, I think, was just a front half.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot of detail to the face. Most of the times that you ever see it moving very briefly in the movie is because you'd see it doing something like this, because it was just a dude that was puppeting the front half.
Yeah, you could tell there was wheels on the back or something because it crawled ahead, but it was very smooth.
It never moved very naturally.
Right.
This is actually a dude, a suit actor.
Okay.
And had way better mobility. It could fight. It could run. The whole idea of this movie is that this kind of estranged brother is down in South America doing whatever. I forget what he's supposed to be doing down there. Gets attacked by a werewolf and then comes back home to live with his sister. The sister is a single mom, has a boy that's probably 8 or 10, something like that.
Okay.
and it kind of focuses. It's almost a dog movie. He has this German Shepherd that's like super protective of the house, and I think there's like a scene even where like it runs off of a traveling salesman that tries to act like he gets hurt on the property. A dog named Thor.
Good name for a dog.
Yeah, especially for a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
It's a house of a German Shepherd too. It's a I guess in Hollywood you've got some pretty good wranglers of dogs and stuff like that they've got to choose from. But the dog instantly can tell that there's something wrong with the uncle, and the uncle just kind of stays in a camper, and he's kind of learned once he figured out that he became a werewolf that when the cycle comes around, he'll just go off and chain himself up in the woods, way away from everything.
And is he Uncle Ted?
Yes.
Is he the main character?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the cast list, and his name is Uncle Ted. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a very small world movie. I'm surprised there's that many cast members in it. Actually, I was thinking there's probably like 5 or 6 people in that movie because it's really what's her first name? Mariel? Is that how you say?
Mariel Hemingway. Janet.
She was kind of the budget Sarah Connor.
Okay.
She was in a lot of like sort of B grade action movies. Linda Hamilton, I guess, was the actual actress's name, but just never kind of had a breakthrough film, stuff like that. But the suit in this thing was a suit actor. But they had animatronics for the face, so it could open and close its mouth. It could raise it and bare its teeth. It could change facial expressions. It's an amazing piece of practical effects. I mean, I picked this because of all the werewolf movies I've seen. I think this is the best werewolf that's ever been portrayed on film. I don't put anything near it, honestly. The Bad Moon, the British film, or not Bad Moon, Dog Soldiers, is a close second, but they don't even pull off what these guys, and that was later, the Dog Soldiers movie. They don't pull off what these guys did with this. The cool thing they did in Dog Soldiers is the actors that were in the suits, they did do body suits, were on drywall stilts. So they were like these hyper big, almost 9-10 foot tall werewolves. But I think because they were on drywall stilts, they couldn't move the way that this guy was. This was just a guy in a suit.
I'd like to see some modern werewolf effects with the modern stilts they have.
Yeah,
I've talked to you before about cosplayers. How just what cosplayers are able to do is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know if it's special effects people have done this or cosplayers specifically have developed these like biped like chicken walking. Essentially, it looks like the way their foot and the stilt sits in the foot and gives them that what do you even call it? That
just the balance, or
well, no, like how a dog's foot comes up.
Oh yeah,
and like the back part of the foot is way up.
Yeah,
like that part, it kind of recreates that leg structure.
Yeah.
So it's not just that you're taller, the leg structure actually comes out. You have your knee, and your knees are all constantly bent. Your knee bends, your foot goes back, and your foot creates the heel.
Yeah.
And then the stilt is actually the foot, and then the foot pad that gets on the ground. So I mean, they've really, in the past, I'd say 10 years, really kind of perfected that shape for the stilt. So
yeah,
I'd love to see a new werewolf using those.
Yeah, I've seen people like what they're throwing together cosplay weekend things where they have that kind of stilt thing going on.
Okay, so you've seen it, yeah.
And then they'll get like probably just the equivalent of like crutches, and then build an arm over top of it so that they're balancing themselves with their arms. And can imagine how exhausting that would be to go through a con with your legs in a constant squat, basically, and then having to walk with your arms. You'd have to be pretty athletic to do that.
But for a movie where that shot, of course, the actor would have to be in it probably all day.
Yeah.
But the shot you're trying to get is 30 seconds.
Well, the suit actor there too would be a stud, I'm sure.
Oh,
He'd be somebody that's practiced doing that.
Have leg muscles, you're huge.
But the whole culmination of this movie, and again, this is an old enough movie. We're beyond spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers for pretty much all of these, except I'm gonna stay light on one of them because I found out yesterday you haven't seen it. So.
Okay. The culmination, the climax of this movie is that the werewolf comes back, gets loose, comes back to the house to kill the sister and his son, and the dog defends the family.
Nice.
And there's probably a 10-minute fight scene between the German Shepherd and this, and it's good. I mean, that's probably the worst effect in the thing is there's a few times that the dog gets thrown across the room, and you can tell that it's
a fake dog.
It's a fake dog, but it's not like a stuffed animal. Like
I like the idea since it was a full man in a suit. I like the idea that the dog probably didn't know it was a man. The dog probably thought, I'm fighting for my life here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the red man suits, the padded suits, and police
And
stuff
the
at academies,
dogs get you.
and been involved with dogs that were smaller than like this German Shepherd. Police have kind of gotten away from these German Shepherds because of inbreeding has caused so much hip problems with them. It's
Oh,
hard. It's hard to find one that doesn't end up having pretty severe problems.
that's a shame.
They've kind of gone to there's like a Dutch Malinois or something, and there's an Austrian Shepherd that's like those kind of brown, kind of smaller looking German Shepherds. That if you can apply the word athlete to a dog, these are the top athletes.
Okay.
I've been bit by them, shook by them. I've been muzzle hit by one where it's actually just hitting you with its head. And the muzzle hit that I took from one while I was running in a suit was just like if you ran up with a wooden bat and just hit me as hard as you could in the leg. I mean, it kicked my feet out from under me. I was really doing the Ricky Bobby, like I'm flying through the air. This ain't good. Got on my hands and knees, and it came around and hit me. I was wearing like a big, it's almost like a catcher's mask between that and like a hockey helmet. It came around and hit me in the head with the muzzle, and I mean, just about blacked me out. Wow. I was just like, I'm getting my ass kicked by a dog. It's like this is impressive. That was 20 years ago. I don't consider myself in bad shape at this point. I think I'm a little bit above average for most 50-year-olds, but in my 30s, I was far advanced. That dog was beating me like a fish at a people knocking fish out with like poles in Alaska or whatever they do. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's short. It gets to the point. It's maybe an hour and a half long. Just does what it needs to do. It's not a classic. You haven't seen it probably because it just doesn't come up in conversation.
Yeah.
But I think if you talk to anybody that really is into horror, anybody that kind of consumes a lot of werewolf stuff, I would be surprised if very many people would disagree with me that this is not the best werewolf that's ever been constructed for film.
Man, that's 30 years ago at this point.
Yeah. And I wonder with the timing of that too, the way they did the face. They had that technology for Predator in the first movie where it had all of that. The mandibles can move and you could express its face. And you have to kind of wonder at some point, it's like after you build Predator, you do that stuff. Do you take some of that stuff and like sell it on the secondhand market, to other studios or is it just as simple as like, hey, I'm shooting this little werewolf movie. Can we borrow that?
Well, like we were saying, how it's nothing is built in isolation.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever effects they came up with on Predator probably got reapplied through Bad Moon.
Yeah, and I didn't do my homework to even see who did effects on this versus if there's any crossover in that. But one of the things that always surprises me is the way I talked about like alien herds pops up in a lot of big sci-fi things is Greg Nicotero. If you go through and watch stuff through the 80s and 90s, especially in horror, how many times his name pops up. And he was the main special effects guy in Walking Dead for all the zombie effects and all that stuff. And I think he kind of mentored people and then kind of turned it over to them as that series just went on and on and on and on and became less involved. And I know he directed some episodes and stuff like that. But the again, I don't think it's like there's 10 million special effects people in Hollywood. It's right. A couple studios of people that have.
And they do have they have the different effects studios, but I'm sure people go between them. Like you'll get some people like Phil Tippett. He's on one of the movies I'm going to talk about. Like he had his own studio. Like he was the man.
I've heard that name, and I don't even know which one you're talking about. So I know I've seen that name.
He's like Star Wars and stuff. That's kind of like where he got his big break.
I'm one of those weird people that'll sit through the credits of a film just because I don't know. I'm cheap. I paid $14 to be there. I'm going to watch every second of it. and I paid. I don't retain those names on purpose, but I think you do see a lot of when you see a name repeat a couple of times, you're like, oh, it's the same dude that was in this thing I saw last month.
See, one of the things I've kind of gotten into with movies is I like to see like either the studio, like we were talking about A24 last episode.
Yeah.
Like if an A24 makes it, I'll watch it just because I trust that studio. But like I would love to go through like this guy's name. The special effects is Steve Johnson, and he has like Steve Johnson VFX. That's what he's known for. And I've seen a good amount of his movies, but he's known for his third film was Predator.
Okay, so he actually worked on Predator.
Yeah, he worked on Predator.
That makes sense.
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
I didn't even think about that till I was just sitting here looking at the picture and remembering in my mind how it moved. I was like, it did kind of do some of the same things that Predator did.
He did Howling 4 and 6, not 5.
Yeah.
So the fact that he kind of grew into this makes sense.
Howling was one of those series that if they could have stayed away from digital effects would have probably been cool.
Yeah.
But they started CGI and stuff, and it just, I've never seen a good CGI werewolf, even in big budget things. There's been some that are okay.
Interesting again that you have to kind of go back to an earlier one. I haven't. Well, I don't even know if I would consider the most recent Wolfman a werewolf. It's not. It's a Wolfman, not a werewolf.
Is that like
and there is a distinction,
like early this year? Wolfman?
Yeah,
yeah.
Like there is a distinction between Wolfman and werewolf.
The most recent one that I've seen is the Benicio del Toro one with Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
It was, what was that? That's probably been 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But that was a Wolfman too. That was him still in clothes with just stuff.
Yeah, and the Jack Nicholson werewolf, that was a Wolfman as well.
That's a great movie.
The last really good werewolf in my memory anyway is the Underworld werewolves.
Yes.
And they were digital.
There may have been, excuse me. We're doing this one pretty early in the morning and I haven't got enough coffee in me to clear my throat this morning. But I think there are some close-ups in that are practical. But every time you have those scenes where there's multiple werewolves like running on the walls of the subway, on all that stuff when they're fighting underground, that's all digital, and it doesn't come across as good. I talked about it several shows ago, the Frank Grillo Werewolves movie, that was all practical, and it was good. I'd like if the design they missed was this kind of really wolf-like facial structure. The ones in that Frank Grillo movie I was talking about, when their mouths were open, they looked cool, but the way it was designed, when they closed, they looked like they had this stupid smile on their face. And it probably was just the way they had to hinge the mouth.
Yeah, they had to hinge the mouth, yeah.
And just could have probably edited some shots and maybe made that better. Or maybe they just didn't bother them that they all looked like they were smiling. But
one of the things I really like about looking at who does what is when you see crossover. So, for example, he worked on Spider-Man 2 animatronic effects, so he was probably part of the Doc Ock. And I mean, pretty much everyone agrees that Doc Ock setup was just beautiful.
Yeah. I guess if you have somebody that really masters how to use, I guess there's probably
those wire controls.
Probably a lot of hydraulics and things in them.
Yeah.
To do things, and a lot of it's like forced air. They'll inflate a bladder to make a face change expression or something like that. And
it looks like he was involved in Stargate SG-1, like for 203 episodes. It said so. That was like a long time gig for him.
Yeah.
And then from 2006 to 2014, he didn't do anything with special effects. Probably doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But he came back to special effects for the Invisible Raptor in 2023.
That's pretty easy special effect. Yeah. Hey, look, there's a raptor.
He's invisible. And there's a movie in 2024. It's a short. It says called Glampire. So like I was saying, I would like to go see some of this just to kind of like see what he's doing with special effects today.
You'd hope sometimes those gaps too weren't like he got driven out of the industry because of CGI. You maybe hope some of it would be that I've made some money. I'm going to take some time off and just chill out.
But yeah, there was definitely, and we're probably at the tail end of this, and maybe the tail end is just going to be in perpetuity, but where it seemed like studios wanted to only do CGI.
Yeah.
And in the past, 5-8 years or so, it seems like some studios are kind of coming around to, well, let's do some practical stuff again.
Watch the credits roll on whatever your most recent big budget thing. It's not like even
the VFX is like 200 people.
And it's not even like that. It's like there's 200 people in this studio, but then they use 8 different studios. They farm it all out, which is another reason that it probably comes back and looks like crap, is because they don't even work together.
Well, looking up some of these, and it's funny. One of the ones I'm going to talk about is Starship Troopers, which was very heavy in digital effects. That's the last one I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did notice was how there would be a collaborative effort between a bunch of different studios, and the one that was the most collaborative was the one with the digital effects. So absolutely. Yeah. Digital effects require a lot of different studios.
I can't even remember which show it was. I was talking to somebody that actually worked in It was like a little small 100-person digital effects studio in like Florida, and they literally would get, sometimes they would do just part of like a credits sequence, or they would get tasked to do, we need some shots of spaceship flying from here to there, and
I'd
they would
love
just
to
do these little
know.
pieces, and it's like they didn't have, I guess maybe you get a digital map of the craft or whatever it is you're going to do, so you have something to work with. At least that's consistent. But just it blows my mind that you would farm out somebody to do, if you say Star Wars and Luke's going to fly to Endor or
Yeah.
whatever.
And there's a
But you,
whole studio that's just doing that one shot from flying to Endor.
well, it might just be the flying tube, and then you have another one be the ship for when he comes in and lands. It's like,
Yeah.
why would that not be done by the same
Same
people?
studio. Yeah.
I mean, just a little bit of color difference and stuff, and it's gonna be some point there you can tell that it doesn't match if you sit there and just study everything really close. But
I think that's probably a byproduct of the studios wanting things done very quickly.
yeah,
They want this stuff, and that's I think that more than anything, the drive to digital is the ability to change their mind. Because you hear about these studios where it's like the 11th hour, movies coming out in a month, and they're still trying to get
they're
these digital shots.
they're reshooting
With
things or
practical
rewriting things.
effects, you almost have to like that. That's the first thing you do is you start planning these practical effects, and once the practical effects get done, that's it. They're done.
Yeah,
You can't go back and change your mind.
yeah.
So it helps with the studio executive feeling like I'm gonna make a decision to put my footprint on this project. And
I still love just hearing the story about the Godzilla -1, where he literally was just in a rolling chair like this in a room full of people in an
yeah,
arc,
yeah.
and he was just rolling from person to person, like, show me what you got.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, no, that's too much of that. Do more of this. And he wasn't like controlling. I don't think he was bad to work with. It was just that, and that was easier to do in Japan too,
Singular
because
vision.
people there will actually do their job and not have to question everything, and have to be like, well, what about my representation? He'd be like, shut up. He wouldn't even say that. That didn't even come up over there. But just being able to control it like that,
And
it blows my mind that he made a movie like that for that kind of budget, that more people just haven't seen that and been like, what are we doing? Why
well,
don't we do that?
that's because, and I don't know the behind the scenes of Godzilla -1, but I assume that like that wasn't all in-house digital effects, or they had one studio doing the effects, right?
Yeah, it was all his
Yeah.
studio. I mean, he was in charge of all of it.
Right. So when you start getting 8 different studios to collaborate, you're having to pay enough to justify a whole nother studio.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, well, I need these 2 guys from your studio to work. No, you're going to be paid like the studio rate.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
So it's definitely, I mean, it bloats the effects, it bloats the budget, and like you were saying, it can create just like differences between the effects.
It's like when you go to like a local con and you wanted to go see the Power Ranger, and you're like, why is the Power Ranger there with a guy that was a kid in the Monsters and 2 wrestlers, and then like a guy that was on like a soap opera? And it's like, because they're all managed by the same agent. If you're going to get one, you're going to get them all.
Right.
And I'm sure that's the way those studios are. It's like, if we're going to do work for you, we're going to do work for you.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much it on the Bad Moon front.
Okay.
It's not a super in-depth movie. It's a quick watch. It's on, I probably should have looked up to see. It does move around a lot. A lot of times you'll catch it on something free like Tubi.
You know that we should actually put that in. We should start doing that, saying, well, if you want to see this, here's where you can see it.
Everybody can see it at the time of this show, because 2 months,
True.
2 weeks later, it'll be somewhere else.
As of right now, it looks like Tubi. I don't even think Crackle's. I think Crackle's defunct. But yeah, it says Tubi, Plex.
You might be able to catch it free on YouTube sometimes.
It says YouTube Premium subscription.
Oh, okay, so
Amazon Prime. So I mean, it's out there if you want to watch it. Bad Moon's available.
It's a great movie. It's warning, if you allow children or anything to watch horror movies, it opens with a nude scene, so you have to be careful on that one. It's
so this was probably an often watched by young males in the early '90s on VHS. It's like, why is this scene so staticky?
I was going to show it to my kids, and like I started watching it, and I forgot completely about that even segment, that he's in the jungle with his wife, and they're together in the tent. And I started the movie, and like they go to like the thing where you see like the camp. I was like, oof. I was like, we need to stop. They were like, why? I was like, I kind of forgot about something. We just can't watch this. And I think we went back and I found the point where you could fast forward past that, and we watched it a month or two later from that point on. But it was it was literally like a oof, I forgot about that. But I mean, it's pretty violent too for '90s werewolf movies, at least. Maybe not as violent as like really extreme horror, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely a middle school age or later level of violence, I would say.
It's a shame we're not really getting werewolf movies anymore. Maybe
Uh,
we'll come back around to it.
yeah, it's
Werewolf movies seem to be, unlike zombie movies, which are this is interesting. Zombie movies seem to be perpetual. You're always getting zombie movies; they're always there. Werewolf movies, much like the moon, seem to go in cycles. Like we'll get a few, then there won't be any for a while, and then we'll get a few.
it's either like some weird independent idea, like this thing with Frank Grillo, where
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of there was like a super moon that turned everybody into werewolves, which I thought was super creative idea. It's either something like that, or it's like let's reprise the Universal
The
Wolfman
Wolfman, yeah.
because we need to make a
Ho-
MCU verse of
Hollywood, you need
Frankenstein.
to understand. We don't really like the Wolfman. We
Yeah,
like werewolves.
yeah, yeah.
Wolfman
Just
is kind of cheesy.
I've I've been making notes for years, and maybe at one point I'll sit down and put them all together on a werewolf either book or comic. And I'm already trying to sort of scout when I'm at shows, illustrators and artists that we see that do independent art and stuff. So it's gonna take some budget to do that at some point, but
That's yeah. Money is the great barrier with that kind of stuff.
but
Money and talent.
I've got a pretty fleshed out idea that I think would be a very cool series, whether it just be a short run thing or something longer or just a novel or something. But that's neither here nor there. I don't have time to watch half the movies that we talk about, much less
And
sit down
make
and just
something.
sit down and start writing something that generates absolutely no money at the moment.
Yeah.
So still got to pay the bills.
Yep. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I kind of reordered the order I was going to talk about because it kind of goes right along with this TMNT.
Okay.
And this got a heavy nostalgia for me. I've always loved the Ninja Turtles, but to this day, I think the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie came out in 1990 is the best the Ninja Turtles have ever looked in any live action or any cartoon. This for me, this is the quintessential Ninja Turtle movie, story, look, everything.
Yeah.
This is them.
When you get to remaking something or live action making something like that, it's based on a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Cartoon had a
certain look
or a certain atmosphere, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
you totally. Want it to kind of carry some of that over, and I agree 100% that keeps it in that middle ground. It does remind you of the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get so realistic looking that it's become something different, you know.
And also, it's not it is realistic enough and grounded enough, and I think it has a lot to do with the cinematography and the lighting of the film, yeah. That it feels like an actual film. Like as a kid, I loved this movie. As a kid, I loved TMNT 2. As a kid, I didn't like TMNT 3. As an adult, I love the first one. The second one's okay. It's fine. Yeah. The second one is a kid movie. The third one's still bad, but this movie holds up. Yeah. You've never seen this movie, right?
No.
Okay.
Whatever that window was with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I said, I was a G.I. Joe He-Man kid, yeah. And it seemed like maybe they followed that.
You would have been a mid-teen when Ninja Turtles was popular. So for you, it was like, it's kid stuff. I get that.
Yeah, it was just on the tail end of that, and much as I wanted to hold on to G.I. Joe, He-Man, Star Wars stuff when I was kind of getting to that age, you're like,
girls, man,
you got to go play sports and girls, and no more toys. Really, the scene from 28 years later that we talked about, where the kid goes out for his first hunt and wants to take his Power Ranger with him and has to leave it. And there's a lot of not pressure, but there's a lot of expectation that was kind of how you were back then.
Yeah. I've said before, we've had this conversation before, where your TMNT was my Pokemon and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like when Harry Potter was popular, I was kind of like a late teen. Yeah. So I was like, that's for kids.
Yeah.
Which if Harry Potter was around when I was, early teen, I probably would have eaten it up.
Everybody that was crazy about it was crazy about it through their middle school years. It seems like
Exactly, and that was high school for me. So anyway, talking about the Ninja Turtles. The reason I put this right behind the Bad Moon is because it is very much similar, where they had a bodysuit and there was actor, and they wore an animatronic head.
okay.
I don't know if there was any like talent crossover. I did a quick little Google search. I didn't see nothing jumped out at me. But again,
How cool of a job would that have been? Just the same way I wanted to like build sets for Godzilla so you could smash buildings. How cool would it be just to be a suit
like
actor,
a puppeteer. Oh, the suit actor,
a
yeah.
suit actor, and
Well, these
what's
guys,
his name? Is it Ray Park? That's he's
I
been
have
like
no
Snake
idea.
Eyes, and he was oh my goodness, um
Oh, Maul,
Darth
Darth
Maul,
Maul.
and he was the Toad guy in the X-Men
Mm-hmm.
movies. That he was like a really agile, acrobatic kind of guy, and he's that's been his career as he's just
Yeah.
been
Well, he's
basically a non-speaking suit actor in all kinds of stuff, and probably made millions of dollars. It's,
well, hopefully enough to wushu, kickboxing,
yeah,
Shaolin Kung Fu, Northern Shaolin Kung Fu. Yeah,
so that's a dude that's like eating breakfast,
he's
doing a
flipping
split
around.
between two chairs,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, he very like Chuck Norris,
Yeah,
that sort of Jean Claude Van Damme. He's 50 now, so let's see what he's been up to recently.
probably seeing a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Be like me, you get to this age, all the stuff you did in your 20s and 30s, you're like, oof.
Okay, so he did play Darth Maul, but it says Star Wars Clone Wars TV series Darth Maul. So maybe he's still doing he in Solo, the end credit, not the end credit scene, but the end scene in Solo that had Darth Maul.
Yeah,
He played Maul.
he did speak briefly in the first movie too, right? So I guess once you kind of establish that voice, then you're
Yeah.
like, well, we need you to come back and read some lines.
Well, the in most of the Clone Wars, Darth Maul was played by, oh goodness, what's his name? He's the guy that was in the Force Awakens video game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the Force Unleashed, not Awakens. Unleashed actor. Sam Witwer.
Okay.
And Sam Witwer he's like a super fan of Star Wars. I know he does. I don't know if he did the Emperor in Clone Wars, but like he did Darth Maul, and he does a great Emperor impersonation. I saw him. This is Star Wars, not Ninja Turtles, but I saw an interview with him where they were talking about like the direction that he was being given by like the Clone Wars writers and whatnot, and he was saying there was a scene where Darth Maul was like combining his lightsaber, and during in the booth he was like growling and contorting his face and whatnot, and the director was like, well, what are you doing? And he was like, well, he's a Sith. He seeks control. He's not like a Jedi. He's not going to meditate and let the Force guide the pieces together. He's going to force the pieces together with the Force. And it's like he really understands Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's completely an aside.
On the whole aside thing, for you get back to Ninja Turtles, I love seeing the pictures of guys that voice some of these things. I just saw something here recently. There's a clip of like a cast of the people that did all the voicing for the early Mortal Kombat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed like this old guy who looks like a science teacher, and he's reading at a podium all the famous lines. He's like, "Finish him," and just to see the voice come out of the guy, it's like, oh, that's hilarious. You think it's maybe some big burly, mean looking dude or something, and it's like he looks like he would have been like my 8th grade science teacher. He's like, "Fight, finish him."
After this, we should watch some clips. The way these tendrils go. Sam Witwer played a vampire in a show called Being Human, and the premise was there's a vampire, a werewolf, and a ghost that are roommates. That's the premise of the show.
What was that on?
BBC.
Oh, okay.
And then they made like a sci-fi version. But we should look at we'll look at the special effects of that, because I remember liking the effects.
Just the little picture there. I like it's the head of the werewolf. Gets me
very lupine.
If the head is right, it's good, or I like it. If the head's wrong, I can't get into the story. If the beast is
not a beast,
not right.
Okay, so back to Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
So yeah, they wore the body suits, and the heads that they wore were all controlled by servos in the face. Yeah. So like wires and electronics, and they had like microcomputers. One of the first times they were using like microcomputers and stuff in this. And battery packs in the shell. There's a poetry to that. I'm like, that's perfect.
That is
That
good.
is perfect. They actually had found a use for the shells. And then there was a puppeteer standing off to the side, and he had 2 joysticks with all these buttons. Like one of them controlled the mouth, like the opening and closing of the mouth, and one of them just had a bunch of buttons and it actually moved around. And they were controlling the facial features and whatnot.
Even like the eyes. Moving.
The eyes moving around.
Yeah.
The eyebrows would move independently. And then they had an infrared camera looking just at his mouth. And so he could control the lip movement with his own mouth.
Huh.
Which I thought was really interesting.
That is cool.
That's got to be one of the first uses of infrared and like facial capture in effects. Let's see. And it was done by the Jim Henson Studio. And that was one of the things that kind of goes through this whole, like all of my thought processes about special effects and practical effects is it's puppetry.
Yeah.
That really is like what digital effects is missing a lot of is puppetry.
I'm thinking through my list of stuff now, and just the fact that I didn't consider any of the Jim Henson stuff, like Dark Crystal or Labyrinth or any of that.
Yeah.
Because you do kind of separate that out, like, well, that's just puppets. But it's like, well, so is this, so is that.
Yeah.
And so you get back into that. I mean, good Lord, the Dark Crystal's got some of the most amazing stuff that you'll ever see.
Well, one of the ones I chose, I was kind of like, well, do I choose this or the Dark Crystal? Because the Dark Crystal is absolutely beautiful.
What are the things that they ride? The white things that they can ride really fast to get them to
in the Dark Crystal?
Yes.
See, when you were talking about that's
exactly where I was going.
crutches, those are that's pretty much
people that pretty much established that as a way to do a thing. Is I think those guys were on stilts and they had crutches that they were just walking.
The Landstrider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's what they would be called, the Landstrider.
Yeah.
It's like in Elder Scrolls, there are these big things that you can ride a Morrowind called Stilt Striders.
Yeah.
And I am showing the Stilt Spirit. There's a person who kind of does that as like cosplay. Have you seen that?
I think I've seen that actual thing at shows.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You want to see a little kid just like completely lose his mind.
So one of those.
You're sitting there, watching a parent that's sitting there messing on their phone or looking at stuff at your booth, and this thing will come walking up the aisle, and the little kid sees it, from half a mile away, and they're like, you can tell they're looking. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, man.
And they start hiding behind their parents, and
those lobster creatures. I mean,
those are amazing.
So we're not going to talk about it explicitly in this, but like a runner-up for this would be Dark Crystal.
I didn't even consider it, and it's almost would swap maybe one of these for that because I just forgot all about it. But yeah, those lobster things. This is living. If you want some Appalachian stuff for you, this is living in the country. Because I saw that movie and I went outside and played, and I didn't have a phone because there were no such things. When locusts hatch around here, they shed those shells off, and they look just like those things.
Yeah.
I would go outside off of these trees and collect 20 or 30 of those things and get them all together, and I would have battles with these shells of old locusts because they've got
they'd fight together. They got the little legs and everything.
And you basically, what I would do is I would let them fight and kind of tear at each other, and whichever one didn't get torn apart, he stayed in the ring. I'd go get another one. I'd do that for hours.
That reminds me of this stupid aside. This stupid viral type video I saw at one point where the premise was they would take empty liquor bottles and put them on strings, and they had a little arena, and they would just let them go, and they'd cling against each other. One of them would break. Okay, well, this one's the winner. Let's get another bottle.
Yep. When you went down from my place to a house down the road from here that's right by a creek, that thing was thick with those things. And whenever we went down that way, they had a garden. My parents knew them and all this stuff. As soon as I was on the property, he's like, "Hey, can I go out back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go on."
Run out.
And I'd be just running around with just handfuls of them and taking them back. They had this little cellar that had concrete wall that went into their cellar there, and that's where we fought. I'd line those things up and have them 10 on this side, 10 on this side, and I'd determine the champion every time I was there. That's playing in the country, guys.
Yeah.
I know some of that. You're like, what is he doing? What are you talking about? It's it's what we used to do. We used to use our imaginations.
The Ninja Turtle movie was one of the last movies that Jim Henson worked on. He did actually do some work on the actual animatronics for the film.
Yeah.
And he died in 1990.
I was going to ask what year he died. I knew it was close to that. I couldn't remember if I was in high school or college when he died.
Every time I'm thinking about Jim Henson or talking about Jim Henson, I kind of forget when he died, and I looked up, and every time I'm like, wow, was that long ago? Yeah, it was a while ago now.
Yeah.
But the effects of the next Ninja Turtle movie, and this kind of does color my my enjoyment and my memory of the film and how good I think the films are. I do think the effect in the second film is worse than the first film, and I think the effects in the third film is worse than the second film.
Yeah.
So as the film series went on, I'm assuming it was a budget thing. Maybe they're like, well, we don't need these servos, or we can use one servo here instead of two, that kind of thing.
You don't like to see a series go downhill as it continues, but
Right.
I guess I mean, Tremors kind of did.
So. Yeah. You don't want to often see a series that gets better. Like I would even argue like The Matrix. I think some of the effects in the second and third one are worse than the first one. Star Wars is one of the few series that I think it gets better as the
It's
series
interesting
goes on.
because the amount of money they dumped into the second and third Matrix movies just massively eclipsed what went into the first one.
Again, the money allowed them to do more purely digital things, which ages poorly.
Yeah.
Practical.
You had one or two of the Sentinels come after them in the first movie, and then the second and by the third one, you have thousands of them.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like technically, like on paper, it was better, but the result, I don't
love
think so.
Just mentioning Matrix real quickly with practical stuff. I saw the guy from the Mythbusters, the smaller one. I forget Adam and what the other one's name was.
Jamie?
It sounds right. I forget which one was. I think Adam was
the one with the beret.
Yeah,
that was Jamie. Yeah.
Okay. I saw a clip where he worked in miniatures, and it was a miniature, but it was like the size of this table that we're on, like all the way down. That was was it the Nebuchadnezzar, the ship?
Yeah.
That they had on a rail, and they built like the dock in a door, and they had a scene, where they had multiple cameras where they just run it down a rail and crash it through the door, and that was actually a practical effect. I'm sure it was enhanced digitally and stuff, but when you get into those model makers like him, good Lord, I would have taken out a loan to buy that model. It was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen, and it was just that much detail he put into a thing just to run down a rail and crash through a thing. But it was probably another lost art too, where it used to be movies in the 50s and 60s where they would make models of your backdrop if it was like in Egypt or something, where it wasn't just a straight green screen, that they actually would build little miniature models and stuff in the background.
They'd have like it's a miniature, but it will be in the foreground, and there'd be cutouts where like the actors are and stuff. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Some of that kind of stuff is I really was born at the wrong time.
But yeah, the couple of movies on here that you haven't seen, I would say put in your watch list. Unfortunately, there's nowhere to watch the Ninja Turtles right now. That's just, you can watch it if you have subscribed. It looks like the only way to watch it is to buy it, which it's available for like $4 on Amazon Prime. So I have it on Vudu.
So you're saying just come to your house and watch it?
That's right. Just come to my house and watch it. We'll get a pizza. All right. And speaking of eating while watching films, probably wouldn't want to do that with The Thing.
Yeah. I could not put this. I could not put this on my list.
Yeah.
Is that the right number of nuts?
If this wasn't on your list, it probably would have been on mine.
Now, say we didn't want to like just throw the ones that everybody would put out as their top things, because then we'd just be repeating things that you've already heard. But this is not just there because I think it's one of the best. It is my favorite. It's ridiculous. It's on a level. I love horror movie stuff. The first time I saw this, I was creeped out beyond being able to process it. I like literal nightmare fuel out of most of everything that happened in that movie. But then you go back and watch it as you get older and stuff, and it's like, why can't anybody do this anymore? It's just so good. As
the movie ages, the thing that the feeling I get most with The Thing, and most often and deepest, is appreciation. Yeah. I appreciate what this movie did. It is absolutely amazing what they were able to pull off practically.
I forget the order of what happens here. The ones I noted was the head spider.
Mm-hmm. The head spider is after the chest mouth.
Okay.
Because
I got the stomach chomp.
Yeah, the stomach chomp. I think that's like after the dog.
Yeah, I've got them in backwards order.
I think so.
Because I've got the head spider, the neck monster, the stomach chomp, and the dog. Were kind of the big effects in the movie. And
it went dog, stomach chomp, head spider, head spider neck monster.
Yeah, the head spider
Yeah.
turned into the neck monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just throwing them up as I was finding pictures and stuff. But the little story of the stomach chomp, I guess that was the second thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most crazy thing that I've ever heard. Like it's
That was in the story. I mean, in the movie, that's when you found out that like it can be human.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the actual actor laying on the table. We got the picture of it up
Oh, it
in the
is.
corner, and they prosthetic everything down from his head, so he's laying there.
When was the thing?
The same year as E.T., whatever year that was.
1982.
Because that's kind of why that movie didn't do
Okay.
as good. Because E.T. was like, here's a little family alien movie.
Here's a nice alien.
Here's an alien movie that's going to make your children like never go to sleep again.
So my guess is they probably got some of the idea of how to do the stomach chomp from Alien, because that was kind of how they did the chest burster.
Yeah.
In Alien, was he just had his like.
If you go back even further to the first Dawn of the Dead, the first one that was in the mall, that one was there was a scene in that where there's a dude that
1978.
He had a head on the table, body down underneath, and they built a whole prosthetic full of guts.
Oh, okay, pulled away.
And they come in and they tear into it, and they're just throwing guts up into the air.
I need to watch that again. It's been forever since I've seen that.
It's like ugh. It's like it's pretty realistic looking. You're like, man, that's pretty rough. Like my wife can't watch. We saw like a special effects show that was showing how they did that. And she's like, I can't watch this. And it's like they're showing you it's corn syrup, and then she's like, I can't.
That effect in Shaun of the Dead, when the guy gets pulled through the window and he gets torn apart. That's like the only. Shaun of the Dead is a fantastic zombie film. That's the only one that kind of makes me cringe. The only thing in that movie that when I see it, I'm like, oh goodness.
Probably a complete homage to that.
I'm assuming
that scene, but I think that was kind of how they set that up. And then they had the hydraulics for the mouth thing. And the coolest thing of that is the actor that sticks his arm in and gets his arm bit.
Mm-hmm.
They found a man who was a double amputee and didn't have any arms.
Nice.
They built arms out of, I think it was wax bones, and the arms were Jello. They made it out of Jello mold and put in veins and all this stuff. And when they go, if you watch that scene, they flash back and forth between the actual actor doing his face, reacting to getting his arm bit off, to backing away to this double that they had. It's seamless, and the actual actor face reaction to it is really what just sells it. Because I mean, he's just like screaming and stuff, and then you back off, and if you look for just a second, or if you pause it, you can see it's not the same guy. But you're not looking at it because his arms are just getting ripped off.
I can't imagine what that was like for that double amputee to get fake arms built on, and then to get them chomped off.
I would hope that'd be wild. Be like, however you signed your check, of him being like, where do I sign? You're gonna pay me to do what? To stand here and you're gonna tie some Jello to my arms or to my shoulders and it's like, yes, please. I'll take that check. But yeah, that whole sequence is just mind blowing, and I didn't even look up to see how they did the head spider. That thing walks across the floor.
I would assume it was stop motion.
Yeah, it had to be stop motion or puppeted or something.
Let me see, head spider.
It doesn't even seem like it's stop motion because it's so smooth and believable looking.
Let's see the head of Vance Norris.
But it's even, if you think about the face hugger running across the floor in Aliens, trying to get them when
very similar.
It's
feel.
It's not as good as this, because you can see that it's probably like a little puppet thing,
kind of similar to the Werewolf in American Werewolf in London, where you can kind of tell it's like a puppet. It's not actually like making contact with the ground.
It's probably on a string, just getting dragged across the thing while it has legs that do this or something like that. But that spider thing, and maybe it is stop motion. Maybe it's just really good stop motion. It just looks like it's walking on its own, and it's creepy, man. it's not that as much of, again, me being in the country here, one of my biggest aversions is the spiders, because we have spiders out here that will put you in the hospital. We just had some friends that were picking up a kayak, and we had to check everything that they were getting to make sure they didn't have black widows on them, because that's part of living where I live. And you throw in some stuff that you have to deal with like that growing up into, we're going to put spider legs on this head and have him run across the room. That pushes a button on me. I'm like,
I'm not seeing anything without. It looks like Screen Rant probably has kind of a rundown of exactly how it was made.
Okay.
But it was animatronic clearly because CG wasn't
Yeah, it was like the stomach chomp happened, and the head just kind of tore itself off and turned into the spider
to
and
run
crawl.
away.
And then it comes back into that neck monster thing that we've got that on the picture here behind us, and that I know that was puppeted, but man, that has to go down as one of the creepiest things that's ever been designed. It's got that dude's face with the big snake, snarly looking teeth, and
Yeah, it's interesting how having a human's face on that thing makes it more horrifying.
and just the fact that they make it recognizable enough to the actor that it still kind of looks like it's him. I mean, that's an insane amount of work that they put into that there, and that whole movie is just I don't know how you put anything in front of it in terms of practical effects. I mean, just people would probably poo-poo it against something like Aliens or something because it's more disturbing and it's more pretty graphic horror, and just because it bothers them, they'll probably say something else is better. I just don't see how you can put anything in front of that movie. And uh, of movies in that kind of genre of alien horror type things, outside of the Aliens, the second movie in the series, I don't know that I've watched anything more than The Thing. I've seen that movie so many times.
Have you seen the remake?
Is it a remake or is it a prequel? Is it supposed to be telling?
No, it's a remake. Wait,
I think it's supposed to be telling the story of how the people, you know, that they go over and they bring back the alien
yeah,
from the other place. I think it's supposed to be telling the story,
story?
of those people, of the Norwegians or whatever that encountered it.
Okay, yeah, it's a prequel to John Carpenter's 1992. So have you seen the prequel?
I've seen it. I wasn't into it because it was so much digital stuff, and it's one of those things. I think I've seen so many. I've never sat down and watched it more than once all the way through. I see it on. I've seen pieces of it. You can jump into it. It's not bad. It's just it's not the.
I would say that I think the digital effects in that film were distracting.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing about it is using that word. I really think that the Thing and the Thing prequel could be a good like case study, like in film school or something, about well, here's practical versus digital. Because even though watching the Thing today, like you could tell they're puppets, you could tell they're animatronics, you could tell it's practical effects,
yeah,
you could tell they're effects. It's still more disturbing than the digital effects
yeah.
in the prequel,
Yeah.
even though the digital effects of the prequel like should be more disturbing in what they do, but they're not.
Yeah. The thing I always kind of come back to are some of these kind of sort of B grade horror movies. We watch a stretch of them where I swear 3 or 4 of them in a row involve somebody getting possessed or kind of going crazy while they're cutting vegetables on like a cutting board in the kitchen. And every one of them, they come along and they cut one of their fingers off. And you know that's just a little piece of plastic with some goo in it and stuff. And you watch that every time, you know it's coming,
Yeah,
and you still cringe. You're like, oh,
that's probably got to be like the cheapest way to get me to cringe. Show somebody cutting their finger.
We could probably go upstairs and get like some rice paper and the ingredients I have in my kitchen and make a believable finger and shoot a cut off scene, and it would just be like, ooh, that's gross. And you'd be like, well, yeah, that was ketchup and some rice paper and some dough.
The
But
thing,
just being able to see it physically happen makes it so much different than just seeing basically a cartoon. That's all CGI is. It's just an animation. It's just a realistic looking cartoon.
now the prequel is actually supposed to be more practical effects, but like at some point somewhere they made the decision to just like completely replace the practical effects with digital effects.
Yeah, and it could be time. It could have been budget. Who knows?
Yeah.
But did you know that the first movie is actually a remake of a '50s movie?
Yeah, it's called The Thing from Outer Space, right?
And it's literally just like Frankenstein in a spacesuit.
Oh, really?
it's
I've never seen it.
it's just a giant guy. It's none
Is
of
it
this
The Thing from Another World?
thing.
Yeah, The Thing from Another World.
Yeah,
This guy.
yeah. It literally looks like Frankenstein. Like
I would say a cross between Frankenstein and Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I should watch it. It'd be fun.
It'd be fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's not a just to give you
That's
some
crazy.
be like a history
Mhm.
class on the story anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing you could do you could just take that and transfer it into a top 5 list, and it'd be in my same spot. It would still there'd be a couple that would be you could argue that we're probably tied with it or something like that, but I just because of the effect that it had on me watching it, I put it above everything else. It is my favorite practical effects film.
I think for me, the effect that always gets me every time I watch it is the dog.
Oh yeah,
Just kind of again talk about the dog fighting the werewolf. Like that dog, when they filmed that scene where like the other dogs were transforming,
yeah.
the thing was transforming the other dogs and like consuming them, and those dogs that were like barking at it.
You know those dogs are like,
You
what?
know those dogs were terrified. They were like, what's going on? But thankfully,
No.
those actor dogs didn't die like the character dog.
So, in one more little Appalachian side venture here is that I know lots of people that are big hunters and that have uh, mounted versions of different things. And
Yeah.
one person that we knew had a couple of bobcats that they had, and that was just a thing that you did every time anybody would come over to the house. Is you would get like the bobcat out and sit it in the hallway and have either their cat or their dog run around, and you're just sitting there like, there's the panic that causes an animal when it walks around and there's suddenly
Sees a bobcat.
a huge predator in their hallway, and they're like, what's happening?
Now, if you ever get to a point in your life where you do play any video games, one video game I would recommend, because you are a fan of Resident Evil and you are a fan of The Thing, is The Thing. It came out like on PS2.
Okay.
They remastered it for the PS4. It is a sequel to The Thing.
Oh.
So it's like
I would
full
completely
story.
try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would be more likely to try that because I'm sure that's an A to B
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah, it's not an open world.
It's not an open world where you play for 3 weeks and it's like, oh, I haven't accomplished anything.
No, with those this complete aside, those open world games that you can get lost in, there is something called the critical path. Yeah. Where like you could just play the story and barrel right through it.
Yeah.
I am horrible at that. Like I was playing The Witcher 3 and it is open world and there's a critical path. But oh my goodness. It's one of those things where where you're playing the game and you realize I've been playing this thing for 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours, and I haven't even touched the main story.
Yeah. I think I've
told time sinks.
Watching my son play through whatever samurai game that was.
Ghost of Tsushima, right? It was on the PS4.
It was before that one. There was a different one, but it was you would go to fight these like bosses, and you would have to do so much blocking and parrying and stuff like that.
Nihon? Was it fantastical? Like were the enemies like monsters or were they people?
At some point they did get that way. There was like a giant like gorilla thing that was throwing stuff at you at one point. But I tried playing some of it as let me try to jump in.
Yeah.
And you literally would have to like go through a boss battle to knock it down a stage, and then it would reset. You'd have to do the second part of the boss battle.
That's very stereotypical for Japanese games. Oh, they're in their second form or whatever.
I was just like, man, I can't do this. This is like the second boss. Yeah. It's like I can't imagine having to do this for. There was one where there's like he was on horseback. One of the bosses you had to fight like a warlord, and I think I got him off the horse one time, and that was like in 3 days. I was just like, I'm gonna break this controller in my hands trying to do this because I want to attack stuff, and it's so much like blocking and just being patient. And I'm like, nah.
Well, they're with modern games like that. There are like two genres that they go into. It's like either it's like an action type game or an action platformer kind of game, or it's what's called a Souls game. And Souls games are known for being notoriously hard.
Yeah.
Those aren't for people who just kind of want to. I want to play a video game. Those are people who want to like
play
dominate it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, while you look up that, I'll start.
Yeah.
My next one, which is the practical effects of Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
Now, Little Shop of Horrors is it's a film adaptation of the Broadway adaptation of the 1960s film starring Jack Nicholson, Little Shop of Horrors. So this isn't a remake, kind of like The Thing is a remake. It wasn't really a remake. It's an adaptation of a Broadway musical. That's why this one's a musical and the original one isn't.
I got you.
I am not generally a musical fan.
I'm not either, but I do like that one.
But if I like a musical, I really like it.
Yeah.
And it's always because I like the underlying story. Like the underlying story has to be really strong for me to suffer is not the right word for me to sit through the musical portions. And the musical portions need to tie in pretty strongly to the narrative for me to enjoy them.
The producers is one of the
Sekiro,
ones.
okay.
Sekiro's
yeah.
I think it says, does it say Shadows Die
Shadows
Twice?
Die Twice.
Because you have to kill everything
twice.
4 times in that game.
That game just fell out of my memory.
Beautiful game. It was amazing. I could sit there and watch him play it like I was watching movies. Mm-hmm. It was awesome to do, and bless his heart for being able to play the thing. I was just like, this is beyond me. I watched him beat it, and I felt like we just graduated from college together or something when he finally won the last battle that went on for I think he tried for 4 or 5 days to get to that thing. I was just like, man, I feel like I've accomplished something. All I've done has been sitting here watching you do it.
Yeah. I haven't played the game, but I've heard great things.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But Little Shop of Horrors is one of those musicals I do love, and part of the reason is because of the animatronic and the puppetry of Audrey 2. It was by Frank Oz, directed The Muppets. Yeah. So I mean
he's another guy that pops into so many things.
Frank Oz.
He's an American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And you'll see him, and I've gotten to the point now, even I'm not even looking for him. If you're watching an older movie and you hear him, he's like, well, I hear Frank Oz, and he's always that bald guy with glasses and a mustache. Mm-hmm. But he always sounds like that mix between Fozzie and Miss Piggy when he talks, and it's like.
And the Audrey 2 puppet was actually designed by Lyle Conway, who worked on the Dark Crystal.
Okay.
And it required and one of the things, and this is kind of probably why they've also gone to digital, is not only through Audrey 2's growth, because Audrey 2 starts out as a little plant, but also as the large Audrey 2, they had to make multiple sizes for the different shots they needed.
Yeah.
There was an ending that was scrapped where Audrey 2 goes on gets gargantuan, almost like a kaiju, and goes and tears through New York and takes over the world. And they cut that ending, and it's known for being the most expensive cutscene ever. But they had to make large Audrey 2s for these miniature sets that they had to get the shots they wanted.
Well, they eventually made it. They made it in Godzilla versus Biollante.
That's right, exactly. And at the largest size, they needed 60 puppeteers to puppet Audrey 2. And the thing that I really love
do you know? Was it all from above, or was it inside? Or
inside and below?
Below.
Yeah, the sticks and stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And probably one of the things that really endears this to me is the idea that they ended up framing Audrey 2, filming Audrey 2 at 12 to 16 frames per second, but when they ran it back at 24 frames per second, it was moving faster, and that's what really gives it that lifelike quality.
Okay.
And that was something they apparently they discovered that on accident when they were trying to figure out the best way to puppeteer this thing. They were fast forwarding and rewinding test footage, and they were like, it looks better if it's going fast. And the scenes where Rick Moranis, we have a picture up, and it's a scene with Audrey 2 and Rick Moranis. In the scenes where Rick Moranis was with Audrey 2 and other actors, the actor had to act in slow motion.
That's what I was getting ready to ask. Is you have to line up your speech and everything.
Yeah, when he would say his line, he would say it as he was in slow motion.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's a testament to Rick Moranis as an actor. I mean, he really knew his craft.
This is the most random aside to that. There's a music video of Madonna, Ray of Light, where it's all sped up and everything around it is all fast. And she dances, and you can tell it's sped up, but her mouth always matches. And I always was like, did she have to sing the song
probably in slow motion?
Yeah. And it's how do you even get the timing of that down? I guess if you get it close, you can match it up. 'Cause you can't. And you're watching all the other things moving around. As long as the mouth is kind of close, it doesn't like a dubbed Japanese film, you know. But that's still one of the cool tricks in filmmaking, just to do something like that.
Oh, I didn't say this for the thing. The thing is available for purchase for like $4, pretty much anywhere.
Anyway, yeah.
You can't really watch it without buying it right now.
Is it a Paramount movie?
It looks like it's on. I'm not
I can't remember who
sure.
made the movie. If it was Universal or Paramount, I know Paramount's kind of been like hoarding their things back on their streaming service, but I didn't know who actually made that.
It's on Amazon Prime,
Okay.
Apple TV. So I mean, it doesn't say Paramount Plus. So I'm guessing not.
Okay. It might be a Universal pick, or maybe somebody else. I forget who made the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been a smaller studio too. I don't
Well, a
know.
lot of times it's like this: a smaller studio makes it, then a larger studio comes along and distributes it. So it gets attributed to that larger
Carpenter
studio.
probably used.
It was Carpenter.
I would think most of his things would have gone through the same studio, but
Universal.
okay. I don't guess there's really any streaming company that really just has outright rights to Universal at the moment. I know
They've taken to like almost like a syndication. Like, oh, you'll have it for a year, and then we're gonna put it over here.
They probably make more money that way.
Yeah, and you get
shopping
people
at the different services and
people
stuff.
hopping around. Little Shop of Horrors is kind of the same situation. So you can buy it on Amazon, Apple TV.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I do the Fandango thing. Is I'll just get something digitally if I want to watch it.
The my affinity to that movie was I really never think of it as so much of a special effects thing as it's just that group of actors.
Yeah.
With Rick Moranis and Steve Martin and those guys. Those are kind of those films that whatever they do, I'll watch. It's never turns out bad, even if it's not like a great one. It's always watchable.
Didn't with Steve Martin as the dentist? I'm pretty sure they had to make like a large set of teeth.
Oh yeah, where he's like
had that
singing
shot
into the
that
mouth.
was like inside of the mouth.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's such a weird shot.
Because I mean, you could see like multiple people through the mouth.
Yeah,
it had to be an oversized mouth or just a fitting at the end of the camera or something. I don't know.
yeah, it's a great shot. Yeah, great special effects in Little Shop of Horrors. It's great practical effects.
Yeah. What year was that again?
It
was early '80s.
I got stuff up here. Yeah, it was. Come on, Bing, give me my information. Let's go to Google.
Let's see. You can probably type it faster than I can.
Little Shop of Horrors, 1986.
86. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much most of what we're going to be talking about is going to be in the 80s because
that was the heyday.
That was the heyday of practical effects. I'm really surprised, and it may have been done unbeknownst to me, but I'm really surprised that speed up effect wasn't really like it didn't take off.
And I didn't see that movie until much later because 80. What did you say? 86.
Yeah, 86.
So I was 11 or 12, and I was still raised in a time where my parents were like, no, you're not watching that. You're not doing that.
Well, I mean,
I think it was
the plot revolves around a man murdering people and feeding his plants. So I could see
I think I remember
saying
like
no.
my brother got to watch it with some of his friends, and I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah,
and I came back to it later. I don't even remember when I saw it for the first time, but I know I didn't see it at the time that it came out. I think it might have actually been like in college, like somebody had it. And I had the room in college where I took a lounge chair or a reclining chair and a VCR in my tape collection. My room became like a Sunday night movie room with the stuff that I had. But then as we kind of burned through the stuff that I had,
people would bring other things.
People bring other stuff, and I think maybe we watched that somebody else owned it. I think that was actually the first time I saw that movie. So.
This is kind of an old man yells at clouds moment for me, but there was something special about watching films when your available library was limited.
Oh yeah.
Well, almost now, when you can literally, if you want, you could probably find any film you want somewhere online. It creates a
You had your favorites.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good way that you get to know, or you got to know somebody back then, as they could. If I came by and I'm standing there talking to you, and I look at your shelf and be like, "Oh wow,"
you kind of get a feel of them.
you got this, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. Or it's like, wow, you've got some weird stuff I've never heard of. And
Yeah, everything we have now, the access we have, does create a crisis of choice sometimes.
yeah,
Speaking of crises,
there's a
Slither.
there's a picture to bring up.
Oh goodness,
Talking
the
about
picture
being
we
a,
have up is of the bloated lady,
I think it's Brenda.
Brenda.
I think it's the actress and the character were both named Brenda. If I
Oh,
remember
okay.
that
I'm
right.
going to bring up the cast.
Yeah, I need to pull that up
This was a
too.
2006 film.
Not a great cast.
Brenda James played Brenda Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And the picture we have up is her right before she birthed out
Extended
all of the little
slugs.
slugs in the barn where she's just been eating, and people have been bringing her. Was her husband like bringing her food or
Mm-hmm.
something? And she just looks like a tick that's about to pop, and it's just one of the most disgusting things ever probably been put on screen for me. Again, that kind of comes back to where I grew up there in the country. You have outside dogs, and they come back and they get swelled up ticks all over them, and just seeing a human tick basically was like that's disgusting. But we were talking about this a little bit in the last show about James Gunn's involvement in things that I didn't know until I was going back and kind of looking up some pictures for this thing, that James Gunn made this movie. It was kind of like his first big movie.
Yeah, this was his breakout.
Yeah, and again, he gets poo-pooed a lot now because of he's trying to fix the DC stuff, and everybody wants to hate on everything about DC so that they have content for videos, I guess.
Well, like we were saying yesterday, I think his body of work really speaks highly of him. So
Yeah, it's if you go back and look at what he's done, he's been one of the better filmmakers
mm-hmm.
of the last whatever 15 years ish.
I mean, it looks like. I mean, I know we looked at this yesterday, but he did actually do a lot. Screenplay, creator, writer, screenplay based on adaptation before he actually did Slither. He was pretty active.
The that was kind of the big effect that I focused in on that. But you go back to Michael Rooker is playing. I forget what his character's name is. He's kind of the main character with is it Elizabeth Berkley?
Elizabeth Banks.
Banks is his wife. He's kind of like the older guy that's jealous of his wife in that story, and he's the first guy that gets infected, right? Because he goes out to find the little crashed thing out in the field, and it shoots like a little dart out. It's like this little slug thing, and shoots him in the neck with like a dart, and then it starts to turn
inseminates him.
And this whole thing it's like a hive mind alien basically that I guess kind of starts with him, and then everything else that spawns out of him is kind of connected to him, and he can kind of control them, or he sees what they see, kind of thing, I guess. But he starts off, with like some weird boils and stuff on, and keeps progressing through it, and it turns into his like jaw kind of rip open, and then he finally gets to just this awful looking beast, and even like things that he's taking control of are starting to connect to him. So there's other people like in a big pile that he's kind of the center of, and it's some graphic stuff, but it's all practical, and it's amazing. It's the thing that was the sort of weird fact on this thing is when they were making this movie, this was when the Iraq War was kind of underway,
right?
And there was a lot of petroleum used to make these slugs and all these different effects in there, and it was kind of short because of oil went up and all this stuff, so there was kind of a shortage.
So their budget didn't get as much.
Well, they couldn't find it.
Oh.
And what they did is they went out and raided, and I don't want to get graphic on the show, they went out and raided sex toy shops. And they bought
the lube.
They bought them. Well, no, the things that had been made.
Oh, okay. The toys.
They brought those.
I guess those are petroleum products, huh?
They bought those because they were already the material that they wanted, and they repurposed some of them, and then they melted some of them down and made slugs and all the other parts out of it. And
that's okay.
It's kind of funny if you can find like the article talks about some of the effects guys. They talk about how they went to all these like sex shops. Does YouTube always knock off the P word, the porn
I don't think so.
I
I
don't
think people just do it to
not,
try to avoid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those
Whatever.
shops, they were going around the shops and like buying them out, and
Yeah.
they said it was like these reactions of like these guys that sell all these
Why are
creepy
you buying
guys
all
that
these?
sell all this stuff that they would come in and it's like, how many of these do you have? And like, I don't know. It's like, well, can you check? And then they were walking out of there with boxes full of them, and it was just like I said, some of them were already in the right forms to use as some of the creatures and stuff that they did, and some of it they just
Right form. Hey,
uh,
this works.
I think it literally was like, we don't need to do anything to this one. Let's just throw it into the pile. And then other ones that were not the right color or whatever, they just melted them all down. So the movie was this amalgamation of all this awful sex shop stuff. And I was like, that's an interesting way. But again, I don't like
Makes sense for the film.
any of that stuff even exists. But it's just I love the ingenuity of practical effects where yeah, you talked about Tremors, where the guy he built perfection by going and just buying shacks off of properties and put them, reassembled them all, and just built this little town of perfection.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get enough petroleum and plastics to make all this gooey, nasty slugs and stuff. So they just went and they bought out like every sex shop in the area and basically make all these effects and all these monsters in this thing from that. And that's
Let's go through. Todd Masters was the effects guy on Slither.
yes,
So going through his filmography here is Poltergeist 2 looks like one of the he was the special makeup effects producer on that. And just hitting some of the ones that kind of jumped out to me. The Howling Six, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the film, Adam's Family Values, Leprechaun 2, Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, The Prophecy, the original Mortal Kombat, The Arrival. I mean, he's all over the place, man.
yeah.
Let's see, What Dreams May Come,
Hmm.
Beowulf, a couple of scary movies, 1 Hour Photo. He was uncredited in that. He did prosthetic effects in that. So I mean, he did all sorts of stuff. He worked on Stargate SG-1. It seems like a lot of guys worked on Stargate.
Yeah.
White chicks. Looking at this kind of looking at this kind of stuff, it's interesting because sometimes you don't realize where movies fall in relation to one another.
Yeah.
Slither, and since then he worked on Snakes on a Plane. The Last Mimsy, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
The Invasion, The Day the Earth Stood Still, the one with Keanu Reeves.
So when we're always
he's all over the place.
We're really stabbing and drawing at our memories of things and stuff. And if we went back through and kind of showed progressions of some of this stuff, it'd almost be like we're teaching a film class or something where you can say, this is how this started. It progressed to this, and these people combined and did this. And
a notch against him. He worked on The Predator. No, I'm kidding.
The Predator.
Yeah, The Predator.
I throw that into the same thing I do on everything. It's like if you got paid, good.
If you got paid, good on you.
It's
he is prolific. He is busy. He worked on Doom Part 2. Wow, good on him, man. He worked on the last one he worked on was Final Destination Bloodlines.
Okay.
So yeah, he's an effects man.
Here's my favorite random trivia thing that came up from looking at Slither that ties perfectly back into our whole episode based on Tremors. The high school in this thing was the Earl Bassett Community.
Was named after Earl. Yeah, I remember looking at Tremors trivia. I saw that. That's great.
The Earl Bassett Community School. So he was definitely given a nod to Tremors and the effects there. I don't think there was any crossover actors in it, but it was just that I think he obviously was of a school of practical effects, learning from guys that had come before. And that was one that definitely happened in his lifetime that he was able to see how it turned out, and probably was able to contact some of the same people involved in it. And yeah, Slither is such an underrated movie.
I would put Slither in kind of the same category of The Thing, insofar that there are so many effect shots.
Yeah.
That you could go into like you said, kind of like a whole class about each shot themselves, how they did it.
Yeah.
And just the sheer number of shots that they did was impressive, but they looked as good as they did was even more impressive.
Yeah. It's one of those movies like The Thing too, that there are people that don't know this film or don't appreciate it as any kind of milestone and stuff
At the
because
time, it wasn't received very well.
yeah, and people that maybe have tried it too, the level of stuff that they get to in some of the effects is pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with the thing that it sometimes it's just too much for some fans and some film consumers that
Well,
they're going to write it off as that's trash because it bothered them.
one
And
of the things that I think probably got James Gunn in trouble, but and he's kind of had to pull back on a little bit is early James Gunn. He wasn't afraid to go anywhere.
yeah.
He was like, let's do it. Let's be as crass, as gross as we can be, just because we can.
This is another one that I don't know that my wife would even sit through it. It's when you watch it and you go back and you understand everything how it's done practically, you can kind of separate yourself from how gross some of it is, but it still is pretty gross.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And there's a lot of the the, the is it the house that Merle, or I say Merle, Michael Rooker
Michael Rooker.
that he's in, isn't like the basement just full of like dead animals?
Yeah.
That and just rotten meat because like he's got to keep eating to grow, and the other hive things are bringing him like raw meat from the grocery store and like dead animals they found on the road and just throwing them into his basement. And the same thing with Brenda, that somebody just bringing her like roadkill and stuff, and she's just sitting there eating and swelling up. And it's admittedly it's pretty gross.
The lineage of this film, like the reason I was interested in Slither is as a kid, I loved this one movie called Night of the Creeps. And the basic premise is it starts out on this spaceship and these guys in like they look like big alien baby suits, and one's running with like a canister, and he just like throws the canister out of the spaceship, and the canister lands on Earth, and these alien slugs come out and they jump in people's mouths, and then those people turn into zombies.
What? How old a movie is that?
Oh,
I swear I've seen that.
I'm sure you have. It was like in the early 80s.
I remember seeing a thing where it was kind of disturbing. These things would like just sitting there choking them, getting in their mouth, and little tail flopping around.
1986.
I didn't remember that as the name of that, but
yep,
yeah, there's some definitely nods to that in Slither, where it's
yeah,
they're getting into somebody's mouth there.
In the Night of the Creeps, the slug would go in the mouth, turn you into a zombie, and have you find like the zombies weren't eating people, but have you find other people, and when they got there, their heads would explode and slugs would go everywhere.
I remember.
Yeah. And I recently watched that again, and I was like, yeah, I could see little me loving this film.
The thing that always kind of blew my mind with this, and I think this was the first thing I ever saw Nathan Fillion in.
Yeah.
That it didn't launch him into more of like Han Solo type roles, sort of like a Harrison Ford, because at the time he was still younger. It was great in that role, and that mix of the same kind of Harrison Ford stuff, where he's got that kind of comedy just that he conveys through facial expressions, and it doesn't always have to be some witty, sarcastic dude. And then, did Firefly happen after that?
Firefly was in 2002, so this was after Firefly.
Okay.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion should have been like a Brendan Fraser type, a Harrison Ford type.
Yeah, it should have. Yeah. He should be in that tier of people that's just like Keanu Reeves, those kind of the guys that don't really. I mean, I guess Keanu Reeves now has a franchise, but when you talk about like Tom Cruise and people like that, they have their own franchises. Brad Pitt has been in 10 million movies, but he doesn't really have one. I think that's why he's not really considered like a Tom Cruise, because he doesn't really have he has a ton of famous movies, but he doesn't have like a Mission Impossible franchise. And
you're right.
Nathan Fillion would have, if somebody could have done something more with Firefly, it could have probably been his. And
he should have been Uncharted. We should have already had 4 Uncharted movies at this point.
Yeah. And just how many other, I mean, he's had a great career in like TV dramas and police dramas and stuff.
He's been active. He's not. It's not like he's sitting on the sidelines saying what should have been. He's gotten consistent work.
Yeah,
I kind of feel the same way with like Bruce Campbell.
Yeah,
and admittedly, Bruce Campbell's kind of like he's a B movie actor. That's what he calls himself.
Yeah,
and he did have the Evil Dead series. Like Nathan Fillion doesn't really have like like the Evil Dead series, like Bruce Campbell does.
Yeah.
But like Bruce Campbell, he's been steadily working.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. You see him pop into stuff all the time. I'll go back and look at his filmography and like, man, I forgot he was in that.
Right.
He'd be like a game show host or something in some big movie, and it's like I didn't even pay attention to the fact that he was in that. But there should have been another franchise with villain, and I don't know. I don't know what happened there. It might just be his choices, or may have been he made somebody mad, or just wouldn't do what they wanted him to do, or who knows. But,
well, if anything, Keanu Reeves has proven that it's never too late.
Yeah.
So he might do something.
Yeah. But him coming into something like Uncharted is the thing that should have happened, where it could have been not a competing Indiana Jones thing, but the whole part that is part of Uncharted that isn't part of like Indiana Jones is all the focus on the old pirates and the seafaring stuff and the ships, where you could have got into that and had a franchise that was kind of like a modern day pirate, Tomb Raider combo thing. And I mean, the video games are just they're movies. You're playing through the movies, they're great movies. But
you'll see, since you've played Uncharted, you'll see as you watch Mission Impossible. There's one Mission Impossible that like it seems like shot for shot some of the Uncharted stuff.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if Uncharted was made in the late '90s, they probably would have gotten Tom Cruise to play Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Very similar feelings, the action feelings like the Mission Impossible in the Uncharted series.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of speaking of Nathan Fillion, have you watched any of his like he's like on a castle, that show?
My wife has watched all of those.
Okay.
We kind of I got her into him through Mike Rowe's podcast. He and Mike Rowe were like neighbors. Oh. There's some great stories about them living next to each other in like New York back in the time that he was doing Firefly and stuff like that. And while Mike Rowe was still up there. And because we listened to the podcast, she kind of got on to him. She started watching those shows, Castle and they're like a Police of the Rookie. There's like a police show. Yeah. I think she went through that. And then from there, she was like, I like Nathan Fillion stuff. I was like, have you ever seen Firefly? He's a great actor. And she was like, no. So we went through and watched the Firefly series together. And then we finally watched the movie here.
I didn't realize Castle had ended. So the Rookie is what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she watched the Rookie and then she went back again because she was kind of discovering him for the first time. Went back and did Castle after that. And that was like a British thing, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
I don't know if it was like BBC. I don't think it was a BBC thing, but I think it was kind of more like a lot of those shows where it was he like a writer that could figure out?
Never seen it. Just knew of it.
It was like a crime mystery thing, and he had a knack for figuring out what happened or something like that. I don't know. I've never watched it. I probably need to. I would hesitate to get into longer series because I have so many. I've just got such a backlog of things that I want to watch. It's just I don't want to add anything else to it at this point because it's stacking stuff on top of a tower I'll never get to the top of. Yeah.
Oh, I've long accepted that I'll never get through my backlog.
Yeah.
My backlog is just a forest I can choose, trees I can choose to knock down whenever I want.
What's frustrating for me is that I have such a backlog that sometimes I'll sit down to watch and I'll flip through stuff for 30 minutes and I'll waste 30 minutes and just decide, well, I don't have time to watch anything now. So I'll burn 30 minutes not deciding of anything to watch. And
you get stumped by choice.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to have that problem nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. When you had a limited selection, like, well, I got these 30 movies. I'll watch this one.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of movies you haven't seen, The Fly 2.
I have not.
All right. You've seen the original though, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to put The Fly and The Fly 2 like together on this. But really, if we were going to talk about The Fly, that kind of deserves to be talked on its own because that's kind of its own thing. It's got its own effects.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, for me, The Fly 2 holds a special place for me. I personally prefer The Fly 2 over The Fly, but that's probably because it was one of those films where like I saw The Fly 2 before I saw The Fly.
Okay.
And again, this was one of those films when I was a kid I watched over and over and over. I just absolutely love the narrative that they tell. Eric Schultz is the main actor. He plays Martin. Hang on a sec.
I know that name. Oh, okay. He's great name. He's the guy they go see that has to give the adrenaline shot to her in Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Trying to think who he is in Back to the Future.
The dad, isn't he?
No. He's like another high school kid or something in Back to the Future. He might be like one of Biff's friends or something.
No,
he's Marty McFly number 3.
he was cast to play Marty McFly, and it didn't work out.
Oh, okay. I was trying to place
was
him
that
in
Eric
it.
Schultz?
That's what it says. It says Marty McFly 3.
He I think he was known for The Mask. He played Rocky.
Oh, okay.
With Cher.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I see that on there too. Been in a lot of things. I think a lot of those sort of 80s.
Yeah, he's one of those. Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah. Sort of a background secondary character in Memphis Belle, Rob Roy, Butterfly Effect, all kinds of stuff.
I definitely think he was one of those like up and coming actors that didn't quite get to the level that the people were expecting.
Don't know that he was part of the Brat Pack, but I think he was in some of those movies with them. He might have been
He was in Insane Elsewhere, 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But what I know him from is The Fly 2. Yeah. Let's see. I had some. Here we go. Yeah, Stoltz. I'm sorry, not Schultz. Eric Stoltz.
Yes.
Martin Brundle. He's the son of the first guy, and Gina Davis.
Okay, Jeff Goldblum's character.
Yeah. The thing that and I'll say this: you haven't seen this, so I'm not going to talk in depth about the whole story. He turns into a fly. That's not really a surprise, but
is that because
his dad's half fly?
Because he's the baby of them.
Yeah.
So he's a genetic creation.
He's a mutation. When she gives birth, it's like a larva. It looks like a fly larva.
I think I've seen parts of that movie.
You may have, and
I remember that.
And then there's a human baby inside of the fly larva, so it's like an egg.
I have seen that.
And that was just a very, very limited practical effect. Probably just like a puppet.
Yeah.
Because they like give it a shot or something, and it kind of contracts for a little bit. And then all of the practical effects in this are beautifully done. It was done by Chris Wallace, maybe Walas, probably Wallace. Chris Wallace. He was involved in the creature effects in Fly 1. He directed Fly 2. And Tom Sullivan was the sculptor of the film. Tom Sullivan is from what I know him from is Evil Dead.
Okay.
Talking about how all these things kind of have tendrils and they touch each other.
Yeah.
And originally, there was like the Martin Fly form, the final form of him. He was supposed to be like a guy in a suit. You're probably seeing some of the.
I'm pulling up some of it now.
It was supposed to be a guy in a suit, but they eventually made him a full animatronic.
Okay.
And kind of like the Thing where you can tell it's an animatronic, but it's still a great animatronic.
Yeah.
But the thing I really enjoy about the Fly 2 is all the other stuff. Like the fly form itself is cool, and as a little kid, I loved it. It looked like a toy.
Yeah.
But the thing I really appreciate is some of the effects they have. Like the first effect of the baby larva egg thing, that was a gross effect. The effect of him turning into the fly and like getting into his cocoon. The picture I have up showing right now is him on the couch, half cocooned. And there's a little speech that he makes in there, and as he's talking, he's pulling like the silk off of himself because it's starting to cover him up. Yeah. It is a wonderful scene.
Yeah.
And there are some other things I'm not going to talk about, but if you've seen The Fly 2, you know some of the effects and some of the effects are very touching.
I'm good with spoilers. It's 1989.
Yeah.
I think we're in good grounds to spoil a movie.
I'm not going to say anything. I've literally, I'm talking about the fact that he turns into a fly. if you watch the film and you know nothing about it, you would be surprised. Oh, he turned into a fly. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there about that spoiler. But some of the other things in it, it's very touching, and I feel like you couldn't have gotten the same emotional beat if the effect was done digitally.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that this movie specifically, I feel like, really shows how practical effects can elicit an emotion that you really just can't get with digital effects, because you know it's there. The actor that you see, you know that's actually there.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, I think The Fly 2 is a better film than The Fly 1.
That's a
If you
crazy final form. Just
Oh
looking at
yeah.
the picture.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
And if and even if like I can understand the argument, maybe it's not, you think The Fly 2 is a worse film than the first one, but it is a worthy sequel to The Fly.
yeah.
It takes the story and almost, it makes sense where it goes.
The concept that you have of a fly and what they do in their life cycle is just you always think of them as being a dirty, just raggedy thing.
Yeah.
And they really
Oh, the creature
really
effect.
nailed that with that creature. That's, you look at it and you're just like, ugh.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic creature effect. I remember as a kid, I didn't like that he didn't have wings.
Yeah.
That I think that if I could say anything, it would have been nice if they just had a set of wings that kind of like fluttered. He didn't need to fly about. I think that would have been silly.
Yeah.
But just having a set of wings that fluttered, and maybe if they made that today, he probably would have.
Yeah.
I can imagine that just being something they really couldn't figure out practically.
The way those jaws look.
Oh yeah, he's like mandibles.
Up.
They do. Yeah. Open up, spit acid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very pleasantly disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a great third act when he finally turns into the Fly and just wreaks havoc.
Yeah.
Great third act.
Yeah. Almost reminds me. There's a creature in was it Buck Rogers or Battlestar Galactica that had this green thing that had extra arms? The old sci-fi movie that almost kind of looks like it, and it had big bug eyes too. But that's neither here nor there. That just reminds me of.
Playing opposite Eric Stoltz is Daphne Zuniga as Beth. You know her from Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she played.
I knew the name. I was clicking there trying to catch up. She's
Vespa, Princess Vespa.
Vespa, from Druidia.
From Druidia.
She's Druish.
She's Druish. Funny, she doesn't look Druish. That's such a great. Did you hear they're making a sequel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's with a sigh. Yeah. See, my complaint is they didn't make a prequel in 2005 or so. Like, come on, they should have made a prequel, and then you could have made a sequel to make fun of the Star Wars sequels.
I don't remember if it was on one of our previous ones or just talking that they tried to redo a History of the World here in the last like 5 years. They had some other comedy writers come in and try to relaunch some kind of movie or series or something with that. And it's like those Comedy Central writers and stuff, and it's like they can't write comedy like you did at the time of Spaceballs. And
yeah,
one, they're probably not willing to, and two, they're just not capable of doing the same stuff because they've been so conditioned that you can't say this and you can't do that. And Mel Brooks was never just offensive for the.
No.
Well, I talk about how I can't stand stuff that like Seth Rogen does. It's like he just goes and tries to find something he thinks he can make somebody mad, and then just makes fun of it, and he considers that humor. And that's almost how that mindset of most of these like Comedy Central, Saturday Night Live people are, is that I'm going to be provoking if I take off half of the people that watch this, and it's like that's not funny. It's just you just being obnoxious. And I don't know if he could find enough.
Wait 20 years where the people who are writing the films are the ones who grew up on Seth Rogen humor. Yeah. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I don't think those people will have jobs.
Well, because I think the issue really is like the Mel Brooks generation, like their humor came from like Charlie Chaplin. Like it's a development of humor. And like the people writing movies today, like they watch like American Pie. So you can see how the humor gets kind of more crass, more surface level, less.
If you go back though and watch,
less sarcastic and more snarky.
I'm not like a Joe Rogan devotee, but I listen to a show because I drive so long. He has a long form thing that I can listen to, and it's always interesting to listen to, whether I care or agree about what they're talking about or not, is he has a comedy club in Austin, and he has a lot of like comedians that come there to
Okay,
perform.
I knew that but forgot it. Like you
And
saying that, I was like, oh yeah, he does, doesn't he?
and he has that sort of group of comedians that are trying to kind of get back to just traditional comedy, and some of those guys are hilarious. They're Some of them are still those guys that are just kind of being rude and telling dirty jokes and stuff like that, and that's always been part of comedy. It's I mean Red Fox to Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, they made their careers off of being that way, and
Oh yeah.
there's a place for it if it's done with some thought and done right. But I just don't see anybody out there right now that could make a Mel Brooks level movie.
Well, we'll see if Mel Brooks still can. Rick
Yeah,
Moranis is supposedly coming out of retirement for it, so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to kind of the same way with Superman. I'm going to watch Superman because I trust James Gunn. I'll watch Spaceballs because I trust both Rick Moranis and Mel Brooks.
Steve Martin has kind of stayed into the comedy scene with movies and stuff, and
I put him and Seinfeld kind of like on the same, like they're retired and just enjoying
yeah,
being a legacy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're still making stuff, and it's still kind of their old style comedy.
Mm-hmm.
They were never, he was never somebody that pushed acceptability limits. Sometimes he pushed some weird comedy on people that were like, "Is that funny?"
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it is. It's just pretty cerebral. The So that group of guys, if they maybe are involved with Spaceballs, might make it interesting. But I'm not holding out any hope for. I mean, if you watch like the trailer for the Naked Gun remake and stuff,
Well, we showed it on here.
the
I
there'll be some funny jokes that come out of that.
Yeah.
But they're going to be trying to force so much stuff. It's going to be rough for that to turn out. And I hope maybe it does come out as a funny movie. But
judging the trailers that I've seen of that on its own, isolated from the Naked Gun, isolated from any fandom for Liam Neeson, they're rough. It looks like it's going to be a hard movie. I doubt it's not. I doubt it's going to make very much money.
which Seth is that? That's the other Family Guy one, MacFarlane.
McFarlane, yeah.
It's kind of the same way. Early Family Guy stuff is just some of it's just you can't help but laugh. It's funny, but as it goes on, it just becomes forced so much, and it just feels like that's just going to be an hour and a half of just forced comedy. That's what was that movie? The Thousand Ways or Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever that was. You got some chuckles out of it, but after like 10 or 20 minutes, it was like, how much longer is this? It's like,
get on with it.
It's like, how many more of just one line jokes that didn't really land do we have to go through? It's like, oh, another hour. Yay. This should be fun.
All right, well, we are well off of Fly 2 now. Let's just go right into Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
Didn't make a lot of notes on that one. I threw it in sort of as a
well, it's a Nicolas Cage movie.
Kind of want to come back to it when we get to maybe a Lovecraft type thing. But as far as the practical effects, I don't know. I never sent you any pictures of this thing.
Yeah, one.
Did I?
The one that's up.
That's Slither.
Oh, that's Slither.
That's Michael Rooker.
Oh, okay. Where's the mother from Color Out of Space? That's what I thought that was.
Yeah, I don't think I ever. Oh yeah, the mother in Color Out. I was even thinking. The reason I was thinking of Color Out of Space was the dogs.
Oh, okay.
Is they have a big, basically everything in Color Out of Space that touches.
That's right. Okay.
Touches you like kind of like you just absorb it. Like she absorbs the kid, and the kid's like attached to her back. And
spoilers, right?
Yeah,
spoilers.
It's definitely spoilers. But then like
here you go.
The dogs that they've got on their farm, they got sheep all combined into like this just amalgamation of dog and sheep, and it's got to be purposefully kind of a nod back to the thing.
Well, I'm not seeing a lot of really good images for that. I'd like to go back and rewatch it because it might be one of those things where it's scary because you don't see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you get some pretty good shots of it. It's kind of like the thing where they don't just give you a 5 minute like letting you see it. They do spend a lot of time letting you see the mom, and the mom is rough. It's hard to watch because she's, like I said, she's absorbed like the the boy that is just basically attached to her,
Well,
just
that is my coworker.
crying in pain the whole time, and you're just like, God, can somebody make this stop? It's like this is kind of hard to watch, but I didn't do any kind of back research on this at all. But it's got some heavy,
Well, this is. I've just put up the image of that.
yeah,
Her
it's got
being
some
fused with her son.
heavy nods to the thing.
I'm
With
gonna try to find some better pictures. Same the dogs.
yeah, the dogs.
Yeah.
It's like I can't haven't watched it recently enough to be able to come back through and really give you a narrative on it. But it's a meteor hits and it becomes like a
And
fungus thing that kind of just grows
yeah,
through.
it creates like an area of infestation.
And it's in the water. It kind of becomes it starts to come out in plants. Bugs even get like infected with it, and they're kind of mutated bugs and stuff flying around. Um, but stuff that I don't remember what kind of sparks some of the big changes, but yeah, there's a lot of light, a lot of kind of crazy space effects and stuff happening that like
Do we know how much of it was practical versus digital?
there's a lot of digital enhancements because the color in it is crazy. I mean,
Oh yeah,
color out of space
yeah.
is a huge theme of it. The whole thing has this like kind of purple effect haze over everything. It's a really beautiful movie, but the when these things transform or get infected and metamorphosize or whatever the right word is, yeah, there's a lot of bright purple light. So you do sort of hide probably some of the practical effects with some digital stuff.
It was the alpacas that formed.
Oh, it wasn't sheep. It was alpacas.
Yeah.
It's like alpacas and like their dogs, and just becomes this like gelatinous. It really does remind me of the dogs in the Thing, where they just all get kind of meshed into this beast. And God, it's such a good movie. I've only watched it like maybe twice, maybe
I've
three
only
times.
seen it once.
I've watched it once doing the preview thing to make sure I wasn't taking the family for a trip we didn't want to go on. And then we watched it with the kids because they kind of enjoy that stuff. We all like Nick Cage stuff. And then I think maybe we watched it again. My daughter and her boyfriend showing it to him.
Yeah, I put a picture of the alpacas and the dogs.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the practical.
Very thing like.
I think maybe they ended up doing what they didn't do in the Thing remake, where they kept the practical effects and tried to like kind of animate them digitally.
Yeah, yeah. And it's another finger cutter movie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There was The Dark and the Wicked, and this, and like something else we watched like all kind of back to back to back, and it was like every movie. And I think even my wife was like at some point, it's like, I'm not watching any more movies where somebody cuts their fingers off. And I was like, I don't really want to see it either. It's like it's never like an accident thing. It's always one of those scenes where they build up and they're sitting there cutting, and then you see that like they're staring off, and the knife's getting closer. And it's like, oh come on, man, don't cut off another finger. And then it'll be like chop, and like okay, well, thanks for that. Yeah. He just made everybody in my house go like, oh, pull their fingers up. But yeah, I didn't do any real back work on Color Out of Space other than just I was throwing it up there, sort of an honorable mention in my top three. And it's we've talked about it being Nicolas Cage kind of needs his own category, and this one kind of goes into it can be a Nicolas Cage category movie, it could be a Lovecraftian category. A lot of I think is this one actually part of a Lovecraft short story?
Let's see. It was a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah.
I mean,
it is literally a Lovecraft.
This is one of his. There's a lot of films that are kind of nods to him that aren't direct.
Yeah.
And then there's some that are direct. Like The Void, I don't think is a Lovecraft story, but it's like this is a horror movie that he would have written kind of movie. But this is actually one of his. And I've never read any of the stuff to know what kind of transition and changes happen from what he writes versus when you talk like you read does the Electric Sheep dream of sheep whatever the Philip K. Dick story was for Blade Runner, and how much of a change it really is from book to film. And I think this is probably a much more direct kind of an interpretation of one of his stories, but we'll have to definitely come back to it in some Lovecraft themed stuff because I'd like to do a little bit more research on some of his, and I'd like to get some of the stuff and read it. I just have not.
It looks like the effects company that did the effects for Color Out of Space was called Spectravision.
Okay.
And I'm not finding a whole bunch of stuff on. It looks like they did Mandy, did Rabbit Trap.
I'd love that. This almost just pulls up a show for us right here. People that also search for this also search for In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
The Endless Dagon Annihilation. And if I was just trying to throw together a list of things that I'd want to talk about, that's 4 of them right there.
This feels out of left field, but the creative director of Spectravision is Elijah Wood.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Would not have expected that. Event Horizon is another one that kind of comes up. You also might like this. It's like, that's a great film to kind of put into that category.
I feel like it might be one of those things where, like, the Spectravision company might be one of those things where, like, if they need someone to do it, because they look like they've been working, but it's not a whole lot, you know.
Yeah. The Thing comes up. Mandy comes up.
Yeah.
Antlers comes up. Antlers was such a disappointment. It was set up to be one of these kind of just really disturbing creature effect films, and it didn't go anywhere. It was almost there. Just it couldn't turn the corner into.
If we ever do Lovecraftian films, that's gonna require a lot of research, because I, like, literally off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, The Thing and this and The Void. What?
I told you about the one that was like a Shudder film that was called Glorious.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea is that a guy stops at a rest area that has and again, I hate to even bring up these concepts, that has like a glory hole. Yeah. And it's not that kind of film, but it had to go off of that premise to get to where they wanted to. But he ends up talking to basically like a Lovecraftian kind of alien that's trying to stop the Cthulhu from coming through into the universe, or coming through a rip in the time and destroying the world. And it's like, not at all what I expected. I watched it with the thought of being, this is going to be one of those just lowbrow horror movies. That's when we still had AMC Plus and had Shudder. I would just go through their stuff, and just the next movie up, I just watch it. I was like, I'm not going to decide. I'm just going to watch this whole catalog of stuff. And I turned that one on with expectations of it just being a bunch of foul garbage. And it actually was I think I told you, J.K. Simmons was like the voice of this beast that was on the other side of the stall in the bathroom in the rest area. And it was.
Sometimes when well-established actors, well-respected actors like J.K. Simmons gets involved in a project, you can trust the project. Yeah. You know, you'd be like, well, J.K. Simmons saw something in it.
J.K. Simmons is another. You add him to it, I'm immediately interested.
I would put Event Horizon as a Lovecraftian film.
Yeah, Event Horizon. There's a lot.
That'd be an interesting. I'm sure if we Google what are Lovecraftian films, we'll just get a list. Here's Lovecraftian films. Yeah, we might do that, but it would require a bit of homework on our part to try to.
There are some direct adaptations of Lovecraft stories, and some of them are pretty
like Color Out of Space.
That Dagon is one.
Maybe if we do that, we would have to do like actual Lovecraftian films and Lovecraftian inspired films.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know you like Annihilation. I think you mentioned that when we were talking.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of comes into this.
Yeah, it does
a little bit.
Yeah. So. That's one of those films I listen to the soundtrack. I just love the soundtrack of that film.
Yeah.
I've never seen Dagon.
It's low budget. It's old.
Okay, that's why. By the time I became aware of it, I was like, this don't look that good.
I think it's a direct adaptation of a story, though.
Okay.
So
it would be a Lovecraft film.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, since the last one you want to talk about actually kind of goes more, also has physical creature effects, but goes in digital. It kind of goes along with the last one I want to talk about, Starship Troopers.
That's weird that I didn't even consider that as a practical effect movie. It's one of my favorite movies, but I didn't, in the same way I didn't kind of tie Dark Crystal back into this category.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about that movie being that. And it's full of practical effects.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, let me try to get the slideshow working. Our little slideshow kind of hiccuped here. One of the things when I was researching it that I was surprised about was it was by Tippett Studios. Phil Tippett and Craig Hayes. They both worked on RoboCop.
Yeah.
Yep. originally the arachnids were supposed to be men in suits, which makes sense. Have you ever heard of a Gears of War?
Oh yeah.
Okay. When I read the Starship Troopers novel years ago, a few years ago, I should say. Years ago, I mean, like decades now. A few years ago, I read it, and it really, like, the visual image I got, because you expect sometimes, like, especially with, okay, do androids dream of electric sheep? If I read that before I saw Blade Runner, the visuals in my head would be completely different.
Absolutely.
But because I know it's Blade Runner, I saw the world of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And with Starship Troopers, I expected to see the world of Starship Troopers, the film. When I was reading the book, I did not. I saw Gears of War.
Okay.
Because the arachnids are, they talk about them like using weapons and stuff in the book.
Okay.
And like that's not Starship Troopers. That's like Gears of War. They talk about them coming out of the ground and from a hole and stuff.
There's a few weapons, but not in that sense. You know, you got the big beetle that shoots
they're
the
bioweapons,
flamethrower,
but they're talking like they use guns.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's.
I love the things that are basically the anti-spaceship aircraft artillery that are just these huge beetles that shoot the blue energy into the space.
So if I were to make like a lineage chart, you would have Starship Troopers, the novel, and you would have Aliens, the second one.
Yeah.
Gears of War, Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Like all of these. Oh, and Warhammer 40K.
Okay.
Like all of these like were inspired by Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really, in the book, they didn't really have, like, Rico wasn't running around in just like a little helmet and a vest. He was in like a battle suit.
Yeah.
So the book versus
That's probably a lost opportunity. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Well, I love my mecha suits.
If we ever talk about Starship Troopers, we'll talk about the cartoon and whatnot, and they kind of go into that in the cartoon.
Okay.
The cartoon tries to recapture some of the novel's flair. But anyway, we're talking about special effects, not Starship Troopers as a property.
You talk about like how you had that, you did one and the other does that image. It was the same way. I saw Jurassic Park and then I read the book. So everything I'm reading in the book, I'm picturing the actors and actresses. And
the if there's like a Jeep in it, it's the Jeep from the book.
Yeah. I think I told you I took this girl named Patricia. The only date we ever went on was to go see that movie. And she had read the book and she was just livid the whole time, and we never went on another date because
Jurassic Park ruined that relationship.
I was like, I bought you a ticket, you better enjoy this thing. And she was like, what are they doing? I'm like, what are you watching? This is amazing. And she's like, I would have probably been the same way if I'd read the book first. I would have probably hated the movie. But
well, it's interesting how they relate, because usually it's like, the book's better. But if you're a fan of the movie, that colors your opinion of the book. Yeah. So I have 3. So now it's 3. It used to be 2. I have 3. The movie's better than the books. 1, Shawshank Redemption. Movie's way better than the short story. Yeah. Way better.
That's almost going to be everything that anybody's adapted from Stephen
King. Well, no shade to Stephen King, or intentional shade to Stephen King.
The good films of his are ones that somebody else kind of finished what he couldn't finish.
Gotcha.
He wouldn't finish writing. He's a great writer and he's a horrible finisher.
Right.
And I think we talked about like Frank Darabont.
Horrible finisher.
Darabont fixed a lot of his stuff.
And the other one is Fight Club, and I think that's mostly because I was such a fan of the film before I read the book.
I've never read the book.
And the third one now is Do Androids Dream.
Yeah.
I feel like the book just languished on. We talked about it before, but like halfway through the book, that's where the film goes to. And then there's just all this other stuff that happens. I'm like, I don't need any of that. Anyway, let's go back to this. The arachnids were originally going to be like men in suits, which would have been weird, but they decided to go more bestial. And they started looking around at different creature designs. And one of the creature designs they looked at were the Shriekers in Tremors 2.
Okay.
I'm like, that's great. I was like, it ties right into it. Hayes was the one who came up with the final design, and they did very similar like Tremors. They looked at like what's in nature and what's creepy in nature.
Yeah, you could see the obvious.
Oh yeah, crustacean and spider and
the beaks and
and the way they did they did most of their effects is they built small scale maquettes. So like they had statues made and they digitally scanned them into a computer.
Yeah.
So it's not like they built models into the computer. I think that's why the CG effects in Starship Trooper look so good, because they digitized actual assets,
But
like physical
you do get
assets.
some scenes though that are really like the basement scene in Tremors, where
Yeah, you can kind of tell.
they're shooting at like
Mhm.
a beast, and you can tell that it's two separate things that
The
happen,
the
that they were
one
imposed.
the one scene that I think you're probably thinking of is when they land on, I think, Clandathu, and it's like that herd of arachnids, and that one comes up, and there's like 5 or 6 soldiers, and they're shooting at it
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, he's coming up, and you can tell that digital. You can
you can tell
tell
they're shooting at somebody
a
probably
green screen or something.
holding
Yeah,
a
a
little
little
ball and a
ball.
stick. It's like this is where the monster would be. Shoot at this.
They did have Amalgamated Dynamics built two full scale hydraulically controlled. So you were talking earlier about some of these armatures and whatnot are controlled by hydraulics.
Yeah.
Um, like large arachnids. One of them called Snappy, and one was called Mech War. And they were 6 to 8 feet tall, 14 feet long, and they had their pinchers were able to actually hold a person.
Oh wow.
So
you can actually pick somebody up and have them flail around, and
yep,
that's cool.
that's probably that scene where the guy gets cut in half, but obviously that was digital.
Yeah.
But that they right before that was actual a person in the jaws.
Yeah.
The other full scale thing that they built was the brain bug at the end. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That big brain bug. They had a huge.
They go into it with the
Yeah,
with
a probe.
Probe or something.
Yeah.
And
Would you like to know more?
he cuts off
the
little
the
brain
finger
sucker part
yeah,
of
the
it.
brain sucker.
There had to be some kind of model, life-size model there.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things I read about was that bug that kind of like shoots the plasma at the spaceships, that huge bug. They did build like his back so Johnny Rico could ride it.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
you can tell that too, because he's actually hanging on to it.
Yeah, he's actually hanging on to it.
Throwing the grenade down into the hole he shoots.
And also the bugs that they dissect, of course. That was very clearly physical effects.
Yes.
But this was one of those films that was marrying the practical effects with the digital effects. And I really think that's like the sweet spot. Find places where the practical effects work, and find places where you can, maybe cut out some work with digital effects. Could you imagine trying to do a herd of arachnids like stop motion? Oh my goodness.
You would have had to do that, or you would have had to do some kind of miniature that you would still would have had to digitally do something so that looked like a bunch of little toys scrambling across a table or something like that. It'd be
one of the things I read was that in order to animate the arachnids, they used a similar armature setup that they used for Jurassic Park to animate the dinosaurs. Okay. So where the animation was actually more like puppetry, because they had this little ball and joint armature, and they would move it around and it would translate digitally.
Yeah.
And that just goes right back to the art of puppetry for animation. I think that's really the way to go for these things, because it infuses some life into these things, because they're actual people making the motions.
You ever seen, like, I think the first time I saw it was on some sort of Japanese variety show where everybody is dressed in black and they have a black backdrop.
I've seen
they
clips.
Have like two characters like they're playing ping pong,
mm-hmm.
and the people that are moving everything back and forth you can see them doing it, but it just gives you that effect that they do like a Matrix thing where like the table will turn and they'll stop it and it'll be like bullet time stuff. Somebody will pick the character up and he'll fly across the room and they'll set him down. It's like you literally do that in these kind of movies where you just have the guy in a green suit puppeting the thing, and then when you come back and digitally put it into the film, you cut him out and illustrate the background and stuff, and that kind of mix of stuff is cool.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think that's where that's where you get the feeling of livelihood in these things, both with physical creature effects, with puppets and animatronics, and also digital. I did think about like James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah.
Like they're using motion capture, like for the face and even for the body movements, and that's really digital puppetry when you think about it.
Yeah. I've met the guy at a G Fest that was the suit actor for 2014 Godzilla
Oh,
in
cool.
those. And I mean, he's a big dude, and obviously like an athlete, and probably trained in martial arts and all that stuff. But I would still rather see him be in a physical suit if
Yeah.
it was possible. You couldn't make that Godzilla into a bodysuit. It'd be tough to do. You'd have to have lots of miniature work, and it'd be so.
I,
But I mean, they I can't remember if they did any physical suit stuff in -1 or not.
I'd love to see. I would have loved to have seen either Shin Godzilla go where it wanted to, or like a sequel to Shin Godzilla, where you have like the humanoid
Yeah.
creatures, because Godzilla is he's so large. He does the human movement translation doesn't really translate well to
I
Godzilla.
think like what they did in -1 is they built some just really elaborate miniatures that they scanned and stuff like that,
Okay.
and then translated that into digital stuff. And I don't know if they ever did anything in a suit or not, but I know like in 2014 they had a guy in a motion cap thing that kind of went through and did all the movements, and then they plotted onto a computer and then illustrated from there.
That translation, building a physical model of something and then like scanning into a computer, I that process always just really fascinates me.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, the original Doom, the way they did the creatures is they made a physical model of the creature and then took a picture of it, and then they took that picture and that was the two-dimensional image in Doom.
yeah.
That's great. It's great. Any other honorable mentions before we finish out here?
I mean, I could go all day on the extra ones. I talked about like dog soldiers.
Mhm.
I've already kind of mentioned why
I
that
mean,
was cool.
we could do at some point we could do a copy service just on werewolves,
Yeah,
werewolf in film.
I could go through and sort of rank my werewolves by suits to where it just gets digital, and then they all sort of go from B minuses to Fs on the scoring card there. But there's some good attempts in there. But yeah, the guys I mentioned, Bad Moon, The Thing, and Slither. I mean, some of the most rewatchable things for me. I can throw them back on anytime, watch them, not get bored. Films that I always want to show somebody that's a friend that hasn't seen them. It's like, oh, dude, come on, let's watch this. If you like werewolves, you'll love this. If you like horror stuff, if you like Carpenter films, I've got one for you if you haven't seen it. And,
All right, well, let's go ahead and stop it here, and we're going to get the fortune cookie and figure out what we're going to talk about next month.
yes.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. We got our fortune cookies here. We got them in a box, and we're just going to dump them. Do you remember who chose last month?
I chose the last one.
All right, so I'm going to choose one. This one.
I think we had them in a bowl before, and then my wife was like, "Where'd that bowl go?"
Where'd that bowl go?
So
We should get a bowl specifically for them.
We need to not thief a bowl from the kitchen for this one.
Yeah. Let me do it over the cup. I don't want to get crumbs everywhere. There we go. All right. We're going to be... It's in this one? Yeah. Hey, The Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Seems to be that sometimes these sort of come out in line with what we were talking about. We've mentioned it several times in the course of this.
Yep.
So.
And we already decided if we were going to talk about The Shawshank Redemption, our coffee service is going to be about the Green Mile specifically, but also probably touching on other Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah. It seemed like we talked about both movies, and it was like there's a lot of similarities there. Being both obviously prison movies, so it seemed like it would be just a good combination to just throw those in together.
There's also some. I put Stand By Me in this, like Stephen King adaptations that people wouldn't know it was Stephen King unless you were told about it.
You don't think of it as being him because it's not a horror.
It's not a horror film, yeah.
And we talked about how movie adaptations are so much different than some of the actually written stuff. I don't know. I'll have to get with I think my daughter and my wife have both read The Green Mile. I have not. But I don't know how those compare. But I know the movie to the film.
Yeah, I've never read The Green Mile. I don't know if I'll find time between all the games I want to play.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not going to
I
commit
know
to
the
that.
short story of Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank
Yeah.
Redemption versus the film are two completely different animals.
Get ready to hear complaints. Not about Shawshank Redemption, about the short story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I'm looking forward to talking about it. I'm always up for a Shawshank Redemption viewing, and I'll watch it again just to justify watching it again.
It has to be in a top 20 all-time films.
Absolutely.
Probably higher than that, but
And we were talking about having like a whole category for a main course of Stephen King films. But for me personally, Shawshank Redemption is such a special film. It's got to be pulled out of that catalog to talk about by itself. It
doesn't
really
seem
does.
like you talk about the Shawshank Redemption and then like
Was it Maximum Overdrive?
a Maximum Overdrive or
Christine or
yeah, any of those are just they're
Graveyard Shift.
completely different animals.
Yeah.
So
didn't he do Creep Show?
yes.
Yeah.
I think the original Creep Show stuff was written by him. I think maybe as a feeler to see if he was going to get into comics, and I guess that never went very far past that. But
well, they've made plenty of comics based on like the Dark Tower and stuff like
yeah.
that. So, but it wasn't directly him writing them. Yeah. It's just based on his work. But yeah, we'll talk about the Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, sounds good. All right, thanks, Joel. This has been fun.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. Again, we start with 3 topics and end up with 30. But
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month.
We'll see you.